start?
I tend not to force people.
Well, that's you. That's not me.
True. Fair enough. It's all. Oh, it's time to go live, so may as well. Let me see. Is this set up right? Yes, it is. Go live. And we are live for once again another stream. Now, the topic of today was supposed to be a discussion between me and my guest, who is here anyway, talking about the idea of the welfare state and whether it is a necessity and per se a good or bad thing. Now, because of the situation in the USA, he asked me to not do this topic because he wasn't sure he would be here, and I assume he didn't prepare because he's an American, so that's how it works in America. But he is here anyway, and we're going to talk about something else, or at least I said we would talk about something else. We're going to talk about the influence of social media and the media, the polarizing effect they have by basically destroying half of the story. Or at least that was my idea for today. But let's see where we go. You want to introduce yourself this time?
I think people probably already know my voice. But hello. Yes. Ours is Gaspar Green. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, Gaspar Green. Well, the idea was that we would talk about the idea of the welfare state. We didn't. You asked me not to. So we're going to do that on a later date because I still think it's a very interesting topic. And I hope you still think it's a very interesting topic. But for today, we're going to talk about the influence of the media, social media, and we'll basically end up on why this is polarizing. I assume this is where we're going to end up because I really think this is the issue. So, let's see who is in chat. Michael is there. John is there. And John is just in the door and out of breath, so he might join us. John, we are on Discord. And my guest is very quiet. Okay, let me see what I can do about that. Gaspar, can you do me a favor?
Talk.
Can you also say something useful?
Well, the Netherlands are probably the worst. What would you call it? Not a country. It's more of a vassal state of the EU.
It's not a vassal state of the EU. It's part of the EU. I mean, obviously there are plenty of things wrong with that statement, but yeah. Hello there, Lady Justice. I'm sorry, I should have pronounced that better. New name to me. Well, his audio is, to be honest, yes, I know he's a little bit soft. I had the same issue. I thought I'd put it right, but it should be better now, shouldn't it? You're still a bit soft. That is true.
Well.
Yeah, that's a lot better. Hi there, Nick's Radio.
Maybe I'm just not speaking into my mic too.
Maybe that's, I kind of assumed that even in America, people knew that you had to speak in the mic. I'm sorry. I didn't make it clear. Oh, yeah. What? You think you can make fun of me?
There. Okay. How about that?
Yeah, that's...
This is okay?
To me, it sounds better. And according to OBS, it is better. And I will hear it from Michael in a moment. He is basically the sound guy in the chat. So that's always good to have. So, we're not going to talk about the need of a welfare system and whether it's a good thing or not. We're going to talk about whether social media and mainstream media is a polarizing factor within our society. Or at least that's the topic I'm going to start with. Any thoughts on that one, Gasper?
Well, based on everything that's happening right now, I've been watching a whole bunch of people getting banned off of Twitter and having their social medias clipped. I mean, even Grums, Matt Grums, he was just a random guy. He had 900, what was like 1,000 people just suddenly unfollow him, and that was because of Twitter. Like, yeah, no, I mean it's terrible. I don't, I don't agree with any of it. I think it's terrible.
It is. I mean, how disastrous is it that even someone like the President of America can be blocked, made voice dead? I mean, if this can happen to the president of the biggest country, well, the biggest Western country, what a hell of a chance do we have when we say something that the powers that be in Twitterati disagree with us?
Well, uh, on a certain level, like Andrew, like I want to do the libertarian take and tell you that um, it's their business. They can do whatever they want with it. But
And this is where you're wrong. And this is not true just for Twitter. This is true for just about all social media platforms. They wouldn't have the clout they have now if it weren't for the protections they were given. They basically got away with doing the worst things because they were an open platform. But you can't be an open platform while censoring people. So either they're an open platform or they should not have the protections that open platforms have.
well,
I don't hear what you were saying. I can see the mic moving, but I can't hear you. What did you say?
no, I'm here. I'm sorry. The it okay. So I would love to take the stance of I would love to take the stance of allowing businesses to do whatever they want, but clearly these businesses no longer represent just business interests. They're representing political interests. They're also directly responsible for the voices of the people, and I don't think that we're gonna go into a real weird territory for me because we're gonna start talking about how uh, these Twitter and any of these other platforms should be regulated, and I don't want them to be regulated. But holy shit, they need to be regulated. Like Facebook, Twitter, everything Silicon Valley needs to be regulated.
Well,
They need to be broken up.
they need to
They
be
do.
broken up. Yeah, I can understand why you would say that. And in a way, it's not that I agree with you, but I know where you're coming from. And I agree with where you're coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the problem isn't that they need to be broken up. The problem is that they're allowed to do what they're doing, and that needs to stop. And if breaking them up is
Right.
the only way to stop it, then yeah, sure, break them up. But I
Well,
prefer it if we were able to stop them from doing it without the necessity of breaking them up.
and how else is well? That's the question though.
Yeah,
Is
that
like
is the question. And
how else are you going to do that?
I
And this is the other issue is that it's really important that like when you're looking at when you're looking at these companies and saying, okay, well, we're breaking a vital rule of free trade by breaking these breaking these
companies.
companies up. Um, but the thing is that what they're doing to our country right now is uh, far worse than breaking that free trade rule. So to me, it's kind of like we have these are the assholes. We have to get rid of these guys if we're going to have any sort of republic or like free trade to go forward. So it's kind of like a weird situation. It's like we 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 have to deal with this first, and this is it's not just a free trade issue. It's like it's a First Amendment issue. It's people have to be able to communicate, and if they can't, and this is how they're communicating, then
Oh no, I agree, and this is an issue. This is a problem even. The problem is that by doing what they're doing, they're stopping other people basically talking to one another. This is, in all fairness, the Bolsheviks' wet dream. The Bolsheviks like to claim that they're the majority, and by silencing everyone that isn't beholden to their viewpoint, they can prove that they are the majority, even though they aren't. I mean, look at Twitter. Twitter will lose half of its followers after blocking and banning President Trump. I'm pretty sure of it. Twitter was nearly dead when President Trump was starting his campaign to become the president of the United States. And when he finally did become the president, all of a sudden, Twitter started soaring again. Trump should have left Twitter back then. He should have gone to Gab, but he didn't. But now Twitter has killed the voice of Donald Trump on its platform. And then there are people who are going to say, well, it's a free company. They should have every right to do so. Which to me isn't true. And here is why. When Donald Trump tried to limit the amount of people that he needed to see and that could see him, the judge ruled that he wasn't allowed to do that. Because it's an open platform. Which judge is going to tell Twitter that they're not allowed to ban Donald Trump? Well, obviously that's not going to happen because the banning of Donald Trump fits the narrative. It fits the Bolshevik narrative that they are the majority. And people who think like Donald Trump and are supportive of Donald Trump are the minority. When in reality we know this isn't true. But the mainstream media keeps pushing this narrative. So what happens? A lot of people that are indeed in favor of the ideas of Donald Trump and even of Donald Trump himself, well, these people mostly are quiet for as much as they can be. Because they know that if they speak out, it might actually harm them.
So when you say, I have to ask you this, when you say Bolshevik, do you specifically mean like globalist, or like who are you referring to when you say Bolshevik?
When I'm referring to the Bolshevik, I'm referring to the Bolshevik. The Bolshevik,
What is that?
the Bolshevik is the precursor to the communist.
Precursor to the communist. Okay. Okay. Well, so here's who I see at play in the global stage. There's two layers of I don't know what you call it, globalists. There are the people that want harmonization, right? And harmonization are the people that are basically running the EU. They basically want all of the countries that are out there in the West to basically come under a global trade agreement to eventually that's what it's going to turn into anyway.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely true because the Bolsheviks are the useful idiots. Even the ones at the top.
Right. So those are the harmonizers, and then there's the other group of there's the other group of globalists, which are basically the people who want to still retain nationalism, but they want to have trade agreements country to country, right? And those are like in the U.S. Those would be your like Republicans, right? Or in the UK, that would be like Boris Johnson.
I wouldn't know where to classify Boris Johnson, but a nationalist, I don't think he is.
Well, he is in a sense that he is in a sense that he is not a harmonizer. So I actually got these terms from your was it your what's the upper, well, not you, but the upper chamber of the UK. What do they call them?
House of Lords?
Not
I think
yes.
House of Lords.
Yeah, the House of Lords. Yeah. They were talking about they were talking very candidly about what the plans were, and they were talking about how globalization was going to happen, and basically they had two options, and this is why Brexit was a big deal, because Brexit was the harmonization option, and then the other option was basically like a quasi-nationalist sort of thing, which is what the UK eventually decided to do. And I don't agree with either of those things, to be quite honest with you. I think that nations should have complete autonomy because we are separate peoples. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. And we have our own interests and we have our own problems, and I don't think that we need to. I don't want to get you banned off Twitter or YouTube. Sorry.
Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I just think that both of these options are terrible. I don't think that harmonization is going to work, obviously, because we're not all going to group up into like one huge trade union. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I think you're missing the point between globalism and nationalism. Because globalism isn't about trade agreements. Nationalism, you can be a nationalist and still have trade agreements with other countries. The difference is that as a nationalistic country, you will have trade agreements with other countries that will benefit you. It may also benefit the other, but it will benefit you. But with globalism, you will have trade agreements with no benefit to you, but they may benefit others.
So you're okay. How often do you see your country throwing hundreds of thousands, if not millions or billions of dollars to different countries?
I have a huge problem with that. Hell, in the Netherlands, we wasted 1.3 billion euro to help other European countries. Thing is, we're not doing well either. The Netherlands, right. I'm going to be candid on this, the Netherlands is probably the most expensive country in Europe at this moment. Cost of living, rent, taxes, all those things combined. And we have been since 2008, so since the start of the economic crisis. Other European countries have already moved out of the worst of it. In the Netherlands, we're still in it. But still, our government feels that they are capable of putting 1.3 billion euro into other European countries. As if their problems are bigger than ours. But what are those countries doing? they're once again diminishing costs. They're making energy cheaper, they're reducing tax costs, but in the
Right.
Netherlands they are still going up.
Okay, so let me bring this back to the U.S. So let's say that the U.S. was to send, I don't know, $200 million to Mexico or something like that, right? And the reason that we're sending that money to Mexico is to build up infrastructure, whatever the hell we're doing. And the reason that we're doing that is because that's going to give us some benefit, hopefully, um, uh, with migration issues, right? That's perfectly fine,
No,
in
it's
my
not.
opinion.
No, it's not.
No, I think no, I do, because here's the thing: is that if we don't spend that money, then those people are going to come across the border, and then we're going to have to spend that money
And
anyway.
and you have any reason to believe that this is true? There is no way you can secure your own border. You need Mexico to secure your border. Is that what you're saying?
Have you seen our border?
Yes, I have.
It's quite large,
It is.
right? Yeah. So, well, that's my
There is
point. Is
there is actually, or rather, there has been a plan for over 20 years to secure the American border. Everyone seems to think that it's Donald Trump's plan, but I remember that even under Bill Clinton, they were talking about building a wall on the Mexican border, and they have allocated several
they have,
billions of dollars for it. Funny enough,
and they have failed. They have failed to do it.
it's
Do you
never
know
been
why?
done. Trump is the first one
No,
who actually started building, even though, even under Obama, a lot of money was
I was
allocated.
actually. It's funny. It's funny that I was actually having this argument with myself earlier. Was that we really should have, during the Mexican American War, we should have taken Mexico, and then we would have had a tiny ass border to fucking deal with, but we didn't.
Yeah, that's nonsense. I mean, yeah, you're right, but at the same time, that doesn't mean anything, because the problem isn't that you're having a large border. The problem is that you have politicians that don't care about your border. I mean, they give it lip service, but they don't care because they're not nationalists. They're not caring
Well,
about your
you don't.
country.
No. Because it doesn't matter. Because here's the thing, dude. Most of the people that are coming up across the border are not Mexican. They're South American.
That doesn't matter.
Well, what does matter
No,
because
it doesn't. If you really think it matters, why do you think that even though in all previous administrations money was allocated for building a border wall and it never happened?
the border. Well, okay. I'm about to be an asshole right now, but the border wall won't do a damn thing.
No, it will. I mean, it won't do everything, but it will make it a lot harder for people to break into your country.
I don't. No, I don't think it will.
Oh,
Here's the
well, you
thing.
don't have to think it.
I think that the reason that the majority of people have turned up in California is because they know that that's where the jobs are. They
No,
know that's where the opportunities
no,
are.
no, no,
And
no, 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 no. This is simply not true. Let me prove to you why it's not true. How many homeless people are in America? Roughly.
oh, off the top of my head, well, we got 330 million people in the U.S. I don't know. We'll say up 0.01. I don't know, like how about we go with 200,000 ish?
Let me see if I can find the numbers fast again, because it has been a time that I looked at this. It's terrible, if I am really honest. In 2009, it was estimated that 1.5 million children in the United States of America were homeless. That's just the kids.
What does that mean exactly?
That means that there are lots of people homeless in America.
No. Well, right.
At Let me see,
Yeah.
because I have to look up the numbers real fast because obviously I didn't prepare this part.
Yeah. When people say when people tell me they like horrible, terrible things are happening in the U.S., they're always like, "Oh well, there's like 1.5 million homeless children."
Mhm.
Okay, what is that? Are they underhomed? Are they
No, no, no. They're homeless. They are without home. They're not in care. They're living on the streets.
And where are you getting this from?
From the USA. Where on? Oh, bloody hell.
What side?
Yeah,
Show me, baby.
yeah. I'm trying to figure out where this bloody site is again because it has been a while since I last looked at it. The US statistics.
Homeless children. I can look this up. Homeless children, U.S. How many?
Okay, 1 second because
Staggering 2.5 million. Okay, here we go. National Center for Family Homelessness. Is this where you're getting this from?
homeless statistic by state. This is the wrong one, but this is from USICH.gov, United States Interagency Council on Homelessness.
Right. So this is saying a staggering 2.5 million children are now homeless each year in America. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, if I dig into this, what do you think I'm gonna find? Do you think I'm gonna find 2.5 million homeless children, or do you think I'm gonna find 2.5 million children who don't always have a home?
What is homelessness?
Right, exactly.
Homelessness
That's
is
right.
that you don't have a home, isn't it? And America has a
No, I
unique
don't.
problem because a large contingent of homeless people in America do have jobs, which is rather unique if we look at it from how do you call it?
Well, if this is my, I don't believe this for a second. 2.5 million children in the U.S. don't have homes. I think that 2.5 million children may not have consistent homes. They may have, they may have one parent that has a home and another parent
Yeah,
that
that is
doesn't have a home.
possible. That is possible. That is possible. Okay, then let's look at chronicle homelessness. So you're homeless for a longer period of time.
Right. Okay.
And when I
We
say
can
longer
we can
period of
we can we can look at that. We can look at that. But that one is so why don't we look at the homelessness in the US?
now, if we look at that, and I'll share the thingy I have with the stream. Unfortunately, I can't share it with you because Discord, but you should be
Oh,
able
that's fine.
to see it
So
on.
let me put this out there. In January of 2018, 500,000 people were homeless in the US. Now, how does that equate with the 2.5 million children that were
Can you
homeless
can you
just a
can you
year
give me that number again?
ago? 500,000, 552,830
Okay.
were counted as homeless.
Well, that's the thing though, because it depends on how you count homelessness. There are people
Right.
that you know the Salvation Army has places where people can sleep, right? And you can stay
Yeah,
there for a period of time.
yes.
Once you're there, in some cases you still count as homeless, and in other cases you don't count as homeless anymore because you have a roof over your head, even though it isn't your
I
roof.
think I think that what they're doing when they're talking about the 2.5 million children who are homeless, I think
Hmm.
that two things are happening there.
Okay.
Number one, they're playing up the number of people that are children that are actually homeless,
Okay. Well,
and
let's
they're,
let's
they're
let's assume that this is true.
Well,
I'm not even going to argue it. Let's assume that this is true. So what's the percentage of homeless? Let's say 10%?
10% is really fucking high.
Out of
I
the number I gave you. So I said 1.5, you said 2.5. 10% of that group is homeless?
No, I don't even think that I think that the homelessness percentage of the U.S. is it. Why don't we just go by the 500,000 out of 332 million? Why don't we go with
500,000. 500,000 out of 2.5 million is more than 10%.
Right. No, it's not.
How much is 10% of 2 million?
We'll go by 500 by. Well, I'm not going to be able to do math right now, but.
Well, 1% of 2 million is, if I'm not mistaken, 20,000. So 10% would make it 200,000.
So if we're looking at that amount,
10% would be 250,000.
It's not 10%.
Mm-hmm.
500,000 is
but the difference is you're talking about everyone, and I was talking about children.
Okay. So we're going back to the 2.5.
Well, if we're going to 2.5, let's say how much is reasonable.
Well, I don't think that 2.5 million homeless children is reasonable when we can honestly say that 500,000 people are homeless.
Okay.
So I don't.
Is
I don't think that.
Is 500,000 reasonable?
Sure.
Okay.
Why don't we just go? We'll just go with we'll go with 500,000.
We can, but at what point are we going to say, you know what? Considering the country we are in, this is not acceptable. Now, you can't stop all homelessness because there are people that are homeless by choice. It sounds sick, but it's true. At the same time, though, there are a lot of people homeless that aren't homeless by choice. So what can we do for that?
You are ever the fucking bleeding heart, aren't you? Well, here's the thing, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't do something for everyone. Okay? Sometimes shitty things happen, and that's it. And wow, we're actually going to get into the fucking debate, aren't we?
You will find that a lot of things are interconnected. Now, I'm not an intersectionalist, but on this, well, they are correct on the concept of things being connected. The problem with intersectionalists is that they only look at it from their point of view and deny all other views.
Right. Okay. Well, why don't we have the debate that we were going to have? I'm happy to have it.
No. Listen, we can, but let's first look at what is an acceptable number of homelessness within a country like the United States.
Are you asking me if there is an acceptable level of homelessness?
What would you think is acceptable as a personal thing, not as a? I mean, it's not a rule of thumb, and it's not that what you now say is obviously how the world has to go. But what do you think is acceptable?
Oh, well, I think that the current level of homelessness is perfectly fine.
So you don't care?
No. I don't.
Okay. I mean, it's not a problem. I'm just trying to figure out. So it doesn't matter where that number lies as long as there is a number?
The number will always exist. There will always be poor people. There will always be SAID people. There will always be people who have mental disorders. There will always be people who have any number of problems.
No, I agree with you on that.
That is just a reality.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I agree with you on that. So the question then, and it's true, because there will always be homeless people. And this is an issue, and this is an issue every Western society has to deal with, because there are people who are willingly going to live on the street, rather live on the street than live in a house. I never understood this. I used to work at the Salvation Army myself. It was rather eye-opening to me. I'll not deny that.
No, it's because most of the people that want to do that or do that are people that have mental problems.
True. The vast majority, not all, but the vast majority. But that's not the group that is worrying me the most. The group that is worrying me the most, especially in America, are the people with jobs that are homeless. So they have an income, they have a job, but they can't afford a house.
Right.
That seems to be a problem to me.
Can't afford housing.
Yeah, how bizarre is that?
Okay.
Mind you, do you have any idea in which state this problem is the biggest?
I'm assuming California.
You'd assume correct.
Right.
Now, who's responsible for California not having enough homes? Because that's primarily the problem.
Well, here's the argument that I would make is that I think that California is currently waging a war on their middle class and their lower class. They've essentially raised the lower bar up for people to have normal jobs that would then eventually raise them up into the middle class. I think that that is probably caused by the fact that they have extremely high. I mean, well, I don't know. You can
Okay.
make both
Do you want
really.
the reason why there are no available houses in most of California?
And
this is a factual reason. This is not me suggesting this. This has been proven time and again.
No, there are available houses. They're just out of the range of. Okay.
Nope.
If you were doing like just a menial job, like say you were working like Subway,
Yeah,
like $10-15 an hour,
yeah,
however much you were making, that still would not be enough to get you a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere on the coast or anywhere in Southern California.
and this
you wouldn't be able to afford it.
This isn't an issue.
It's not that it's not an issue. It's just that the only thing that you can do to offset that is to make,
Actually,
low cost.
Richard Bayer answered the reason, especially in California, in the chat. The housing is unaffordable because of excessive regulation, especially building requirements for home construction in California. It's amazing that this is true, especially if you look at a country the size of America, where ground space is absolutely not an issue. But because of regulations, there are no people able to build.
Right, and where do the regulations come from? The
Government.
Regulations come the regulations come from the people that are voting for the people in the government.
It's true, the people are voting for the people in government, but most people do vote.
Do you know why? The reason that those people are there is simply because the high-earning people do not want low-income housing in their areas. They don't want somebody putting up like a cheap-ass
Yeah,
apartment
fair enough,
complex.
fair enough. But there are places where they could put them up, and even there, they're not being built. So how is that?
Well, this is really just kind of the problem here is this is the problem of a large city.
No,
So
no, this is not just a problem of large cities, because this is happening in rural areas too, especially in
no,
California.
no, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
Reason TV did a subject on it quite
No,
some time
Our-
ago.
the only reason I'm saying this to you, Venus, is because this is coming to Arizona right now.
Okay.
This actually has nothing to do with regulation. This has to do with the fact that people want to live here, and they're driving the costs. Well, not the costs, but the prices and the values of properties up. And as the property values rise, you get areas in your little well, in Arizona anyway, you get areas where people who are low earners can no longer live, and then they get pushed out, and then those people end up in slums. They end up in places where they can't afford housing.
Yes.
And then they end up going into their old places of work to eke out their living.
Okay.
And then what ends up happening is the generations go up of the people in the higher earning areas. They want to move into places they can afford, and then they go into the low earning places, and then those places end up increasing in value as well.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately,
we've had this in Arizona to such a point that now there is nowhere in all of the valley that you cannot rent a place in Arizona for less than $1,000 per month.
yes. I'm 100%. I'm 100% willing to believe that, but that's not the point. The point is, what's causing it that you're not building new houses in the country, in the state, in the rural areas?
No, well, the problem is that really the problem is that industry is not, well, industry is growing, but the people are not able to. Most of the people are not earning enough to rise with the increased cost of living. That's really the issue.
No, that's
You've
not the
got
issue. That's not the issue. I'm sorry, mate, but you're missing a huge point in this. Okay, if we're looking at the standard things of what pricing is, what defines the price of a commodity?
what
What defines
what
the price of a commodity?
okay, so we have a pear. We have a pear.
You have a pear. Okay.
How much am I going to pay for the pear?
And what will the amount you will be willing to pay for that pear be based on?
How much I'm willing to pay for it, really.
And that is governed by two simple things.
It's governed by simple market forces.
It is governed by simple market forces, and they are brought back to two simple things. demand and
Supply.
demand and supply. Did the supply of housing change?
Oh boy. So
This is an important
wow.
question, mate.
It's
You
just
can't go around it.
No, I'm not going around it. I'm upset because you're going down the same road that the fucking Democrats go down. What the Democrat solution to Arizona's problem is to just continue building states, continue building properties outward, and by building properties out into the desert, that will then reduce the property value of places in the city. Right, this is what they want to do.
Yeah, that's not really how it works, but okay, fair enough.
But that's
It will
the
not.
plan.
It will not devaluate.
And here's how they're going to deal with the fucking homelessness problem.
Yes.
To come back to this, their solution to this is simply to put more projects up in the downtown area slums, basically high rises, and then subsidize that.
Yeah, and
And
that's the wrong way of doing it.
Right.
But
well,
that doesn't. But that doesn't mean that at the beginning they have a good point. And this is why California has such a huge increase of homelessness, because houses have been priced out of the market because the supply has diminished, but the demand has grown. Now I'm not saying you should use downtown areas to get homelessness shelters, but why can't you build somewhere and build affordable homes somewhere?
Here's an alternative.
Okay.
Here's an alternative. Okay. This was Martha McSally's plan, and this is why I'm very upset that she's not going to be our senator.
Mm-hmm.
Her idea was to bring in different industries to Arizona to essentially curb the low earning. The general idea was that the problem really was that you have a whole bunch of people that are earning low money in really the suburbs around, well, not suburbs, but the slums around Phoenix. So the idea is that you bring in new industries and then you give them preferential treatment to get those jobs, and those jobs will pay money, good money, and the idea is that you're going to lift those people out of poverty because they're going to be earning at a higher wage, and that's going to then make the slums a lot more profitable.
No, that's not how it works.
Well, that's
not how it works. The problem is that there's a supply-demand thing going on when it comes to affordable homes. Making people earn more money so that they can afford the homes that they can't afford now will not change the supply and demand.
It will, though, because
how?
Because what you're doing is you're inflating the wage of those people based on the corporations that are going to be coming in to employ them.
Okay, so and then what you have in Silicon Valley, where Silicon Valley employees, which earn a decent amount of money, are living in their uh, vehicles in the parking lot outside because they can't afford a home in the vast vicinity, because those homes are fucking more expensive, because the demand is higher than the supply. It's not a monetary thing, it's an economic thing. This has nothing to do with money, it has to do with demand and supply. For example, let's go back to the pear. You want a pear. You really want a pear. But in the whole country, there are only 10 pears. How much are you willing to pay?
For a pear?
Apparently,
I don't know, 20 cents.
20 cents. But there are only 10 in the country, so there are more people willing to pay more than 20 cents for that pear. So you're not going to get a pear.
Well, then I'm not going to get that pear.
That's what I'm saying. You're not going to get that pear. How do you think this is any different when it comes to housing?
Oh, because people need housing.
That doesn't matter. Need is not important. If you cannot afford it, need will not change that.
Well, if you need an address in order to get a job, it does, bro.
Yeah, that's a nice conundrum, isn't it? Because as I said earlier, a lot of people that are homeless in America do have jobs. So how is that possible? Well, it's possible because a lot of companies recognize that getting a house is very difficult because the supply isn't there. It's not about people earning a little bit more money.
Well, I can't solve the issues of California, but I can tell you in Arizona it's fairly simple.
How is it simple in California? Sorry, Arizona.
Oh, and well, in Arizona, it would be extremely simple to reduce the cost. Well, not the cost, but it would be extremely easy to reduce the cost of renting here.
How?
Well, number one, McSally's idea of bringing in industries to raise the wages of people.
But that won't lower the price of rents. That will merely increase the amount of money.
Right.
So it seems you're still stuck on not understanding supply and demand.
No, the other thing that she wanted to do was go along with the HUD plan that came along with Trump, which is out the window now apparently. But the general idea was to create areas. Basically, her idea. Well, the HUD idea was basically to remove particular commercial zoning and then allow zoning to come in there, and then have.
So we're still talking about regulating where people can build houses.
Right, but not in the suburbs, which is.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where, mate.
No, but it does, because
Why?
like the idea was that you're taking a certain amount of commercial area out, you're putting in low cost housing, and then in exchange for that you're bringing in industry and you're putting in commercial housing like way out there. So like
I'm sorry, but you seem to totally miss the whole thing about supply and demand. And by
Well, no,
missing that,
the
you
idea.
are not able to see how this problem is actually being kept alive.
No, but there's a no. This is a very simple plan. It's the idea is to reduce commercial zoning
Yes.
within the city, right?
Okay.
Put in shitty housing for people to live in that's going to be cheap, right?
Okay.
And then you're going to have uh, uh, industry come in, which is really what Martha McSally was talking about was Boeing and basically manufacturing shit. It's basically plants,
Yeah, I
and then
understand.
all of those people, that need the cheap housing, that will live in that cheap housing, and then they can go and work at the plant, and then they can make their wages, and they'll that's a big
But
solve.
it starts with creating a lot more cheap housing.
Well, no, it just no,
Yeah, it
no, no,
starts with a lot more cheap housing. Because if you're not doing that, but you are getting
no,
new industry in, then you're getting what Silicon Valley has, where people are
no,
living in their vehicles in the parking
no,
lot of their company.
because what we're gonna do now, this is because McSally was not elected. What we're going to do now is that we are going to subsidize through taxation. All of the people in Arizona now are going to have to pay, and all of the corporations that exist in Arizona are going to have to pay for cheap housing for all of the people that don't have housing.
How?
That's what through
For
taxation.
example, okay, let's pretend that this is actually happening. Through taxation, Arizona is going to have a big bag of money. And then what?
What are you talking? No, I'm telling you that this is exactly what's happened. This was
Okay, but what
this
will
was
happen? They taxate
this was
more people, so more people will have money. How will that change the
right
housing situation?
because what she's going because her plan is that she's going to take all of the homeless people, put them into housing, and then subsidize their housing. Half of your rent is paid by the taxpayer. That's neat.
Which is going to be very expensive for the rest of society, which still
Right.
will be an issue.
That's which is that's the Democrat solution, right?
And this is why the Democrat solution won't work. And let me finish this off. Okay, so we have, let's say, 1,000 houses, and we have 950 people living in those houses, and 100 homeless people who can't afford the remaining 50 houses. So the government will say, you know what, we're going to subsidize these houses.
Yep.
So out of the 100 people that couldn't afford it now, 50 can. We still have 50 that can't.
Well,
and the worst part is,
well,
unless
it's sneakier. It's sneakier than that because
it is.
Because basically they have housing complexes that are subsidized by the government, and those go into the state funds, and then the state just basically has like they have like a tax fund for I don't know what it's called. It's like shit that's going wrong. That's basically what pays for all of this shit. And our state taxes go into that, and then that's what we're paying for. We're paying for people to live in.
So basically, you're explaining to me why it won't work.
Well, yeah, no, I don't.
So what is needed to make it work? And I don't think the tax plan will work, but what is needed to create a society where even people with low income can afford a house?
Well, elect Martha McSally.
Nope, that won't do it.
I think it will.
Yeah, okay,
But
fair enough. Let's pretend that it will. But what will she have to do to make it work?
she has a fantastic plan, but that's
Okay,
not going to happen.
that's
So,
so. If it's not going to happen, electing her won't help. You want to help the homeless people and the poor people that barely can afford to live anywhere. You build more houses.
I think that you need to put more people to work. I think that's what you need to do.
Well, if you build more houses, you have more people needing to work. Because once you start building houses, you need employees to build the houses.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one thing.
You have summarized exactly what fucked us over in the 2008 crisis. That's why Arizona went into such a deep depression.
The 2008 was a banking crisis. That wasn't caused by building, that was caused by mortgages. So I don't think so.
Well, when you're building houses and nobody can afford their mortgages, what happens to your entire fucking state?
But again, that's a mortgage problem, not a building problem.
Oh, yes! Oh, bro.
No, seriously. If you can't afford that pair, you're not going to buy that pair. Again, supply and demand. You're completely missing the point of supply and demand. You have a pair. No, let me finish and let me explain this, because you're absolutely wrong. You're so wrong. It's amazing that you don't like the Democrats, because fucking hell, mate, you seem to think like they do.
When you're done, let me tell you about the $30,000.
Sure. Let me finish first, though. Back to the pair example. You want to buy a pair, and you're not willing to pay more than 20 cents. And now government comes to you and says, you know what? I'll spot you $2, so you can pay $2.20 for that pair. I'll make sure that you'll be safe a bit. Are you going to loan $2 to buy that pair?
Sure.
Okay. Now the government reneges on that safety, but you still can't afford the $2. So now we have an issue. What caused that issue? Was that issue caused by you buying a pair you couldn't afford? Or was that issue caused by you buying a pair you couldn't afford, but people said, you know what, we'll spot it for you, we'll help you. And then they renege on helping you.
I get it. Do you want to understand why my entire state went under?
Yeah, sure, go on.
Right. Okay, so Arizona, we live in the valley, right? We live in the middle of the desert, and for the majority of our live long lives, we were building houses and structures and realty and all kinds of crazy shit. And then the 2008 crisis happened, and then we realized that, wow, you really cannot build an entire society off of realty. You can't build it off of construction, because as soon as the housing market crashed, everything crashed for us. All the people that were building the houses, all the people that were putting in the plumbing, all the people that were putting in the electricity, all of those people were out of work all at once.
Yes.
And it fucked us.
Yeah, it did. It fucked up everyone around the world, because the banking crisis was a huge problem. Hell, it nearly bankrupted Ireland.
Right, but it was specifically destructive for us, because we made our entire economy off of building out into the desert.
Yeah,
right. That was
yes.
And when the housing crisis happened and all of the money dried up from the banks, guess what? There's no money anymore.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? Well,
Okay.
okay.
So let's start with the first problem. Building companies started building in the desert. Did they have to pay a lot of money to have a plot of land to build on? Usually
Do you
the
know
answer
how
to
loans?
that is yes, but
Do you know how loans work?
I do. I have a mortgage.
Right.
And I
All
assume that
right.
in America the things aren't that much different than they are in the Netherlands.
Do you remember the two?
The 2008
Uh,
crash, yes, I did. It actually caused me to be more expensive because of that bloody crash. The government started bailing out banks, which meant that the banks would ask me more money because, hey, you know what, we have a problem. And the government asked me more money because, hey, you know what, we have a problem. And governments don't have money. So guess where they get their money from? They taxed me. So I paid twice to save the bloody banks who fucked it all up. But in all fairness, it's not even the banks that were the major problem. It's the governments that were the major problem. Because the government created the rules that allowed banks to fuck around.
well, here's my. I'm gonna give you my full view here. The reason that I liked Martha McSally was because she was going to. Her idea was to come in and diversify um, the the industries that are available to people
Okay.
to work in, right? And the problem that we had in the 2008 crisis anyway was just that uh, most of the people that work and live in Arizona are working in industries that are specifically related to building houses and moving our housing out uh, into the desert, if you will. And so uh, the problem is that once you have people that are here and raising families, they have children. Those children then need to go and find work as well. So they can either go into the same sort of like labor work that their parents are doing, or they have to find something else to do. And most of most of most of these children don't want to do that, so they've gone into service industries, right? And point is that at a certain point, um, you're gonna have to, especially with all of the people coming in from California, you're gonna have to have um, uh, some diversification of labor. People are
No.
gonna,
Labor is the second step. The first thing you need is housing. Labor will follow the populace.
that,
If there's a large contingent of working people in an area, and there aren't too many restrictions or regulations on starting companies, companies will join where the people are. Because that's how companies survive, by having people work for them. But you need housing for the people. So the
right.
first thing you need is housing.
Okay.
So what is causing a delay in the housing situation? And don't talk to me about the financial crisis of 2008, because that was a banking crisis created by banks and failed government. That wasn't because they started building more houses. That's because they started allowing extreme house prices based on
Now,
regulations, not based on the market.
no, it wasn't. Oh boy.
So
Uh,
people asking large amounts for houses wasn't based on regulations, it was based on the market.
no, well, there's a number of reasons that uh, have actually caused the increase in the prices of housing, but um, most of it is because of um, well, in my view, anyway, I think that the majority of it is because of labor that is coming in from um, California, and I think that there is a lot of high skilled labor coming in, a lot of people making a lot of money, and because of that, that is driving up um, housing in um, Phoenix. And then the other issue is that the reason that we don't have cheap rental prices anywhere in Arizona is really because really because we've created like a metropolis, if you will. The issue is that we've created an area where you can get to point A to point B pretty quickly, and the other issue undermining my point.
Yeah, think about it for a while, because you're absolutely missing reality on this one.
Well,
No, seriously, you're missing reality on this one. The housing prices have been manipulated upwards. How many people do you know that bought a house 20 years ago?
plenty of people actually.
Okay. What do you think they can tell you about housing prices?
Well, I'm not really worried about the housing prices. I'm more worried about the rental prices because
That's in line. Trust me, it's in line. In the Netherlands, it's
no,
amazing. My brother lives in a rental house which costs him more than my house costs me, and his whole house fits in my living room. But because I bought my house some time ago, my mortgage price is still the same because I made an agreement back then, so I pay a monthly fee based on the mortgage I made back then. Rents go up every year, mortgage does not. Why is that, do you think?
well, rents go up each year simply because cost of living increase the cost of a rental space. Therefore,
Why?
well, inflation for one.
Why?
Uh,
Again,
there's more
I
people.
have a mortgage on my house, and the last 20 years I paid the same amount for my mortgage. Yet people who rent a house will pay more every year. Why? What is making renting more expensive than buying, even though you're not allowed to buy if you don't have a certain amount of income, but you are allowed to rent?
Well, I can. Well, again, I can only speak for Arizona. I don't know what the hell's going on in the Netherlands, but
Fair enough. But the prices of renting are going up in Arizona too. Why?
well, mainly because the level of earning has been going up in Arizona. People are earning more money, and
So therefore they
uh,
have to pay more money in rent. But the
well, no,
people
it's
the people that bought a house don't have to pay more money in mortgage.
No, the mortgage is going up too, but like that's a different story. It
But
depends
listen,
on what you buy.
if I make a mortgage agreement for 20 years, and this is possible in the United States too, which means I have a mortgage, I will pay X amount per month, and I put that up for a year. That means for a year I will pay X amount, and the next year I will pay the same amount because that agreement is for 20 years. So if I have a mortgage now, it will be the same as it will be as long as the mortgage runs based on the agreement I made.
No,
However,
because people
no.
no, because people no, because people sell their homes and they
But
refinance.
stop. But that's something else. If you refinance, it becomes a new mortgage.
No, but that alters
If you
that
sell your,
alters
if
that al no, but because that alters the
no, it
average.
doesn't. I'm not talking about the average, and this is why you keep making the same mistake again. I'm talking about the individual. If you, as a person, buy a house and you make an agreement with the banks to pay a mortgage for 20 years and you'll pay $300 a month, how
Well, you
much,
got 20-year.
how,
You got wait. Well, hang on. You got 20-year mortgages?
yeah, you do. You have them
No,
for
we
3 years,
do.
5 year, 10 year, 20 years. I'm probably
No,
sure
we
you can
do.
also get one for 30 years.
Yeah, we do 15 and 30 out here.
Okay, let's
Maybe
go to
20.
15 or 30, whatever. Let's say 15 because I don't want to go over 20. I mean, we could, but let's say 15 years. If you make an agreement with the bank to pay an X amount for 15 years, that means that for those 15 years, that's the amount you're going to pay. It won't be more, it won't be less. That's the amount you're going to pay. Yes or no?
Sure.
Okay, now if I'm going to earn more money in that period of time, will my payment go up?
No.
Okay, so why is payment going up in rent? It can't be because I earn more money, because that should not influence the amount I'm paying. So what is causing rent to increase?
Inflation, number of people,
How is inflation not
cost,
affecting me when I buy a house?
because you're locking in a particular interest
Therefore,
rate.
inflation cannot be the argument.
Yeah, but like that's what are you talking about? No, if you buy a house and then
Yes.
lock in at a particular contracted like payment, then yeah, you're contracted at that point.
So it's
What do you
not inflation that rises the cost for rent. What is causing rent prices to rise?
inflation?
It's not. We just
Inflation, cost of living. That's
no
what do
cost.
you?
Sorry, cost of living is not the reason why rents are going up. Costs of living are going up because rents are going up.
Hi, okay. We're gonna get into the socialist argument here, and we're gonna have fun with this.
Well, I'm sorry,
Hi,
mate, but
I'm
you
a
are pretty socialist in my ears.
Hi, I'm a landlord. I have to employ people who are going to come and fix up my property, right?
Do you?
And they're well, I'm the landlord,
Do you have to
so
employ people?
yes,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have 40 properties to look after. I can't do this all by myself.
Okay. So you hire in people.
Right.
And
I
the
am
costs of hiring people to do some certain things is being taken
and
into account when you build up your rent, right?
right.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you in America, as renters, also have to pay in for certain things like costs of living? No, not cost of living, rent living, but maintenance stuff. So you pay and rent and maintenance.
Well, my men have to. My men have to
No, I'm
obviously pay for
asking,
the.
are you paying rent and maintenance costs when you're renting in a flat, for example? Yes or no?
Are you asking? Wait, are you asking me as the landlord or the people that I'm paying?
I'm asking as the landlord. Is the landlord getting money from rent and from maintenance costs from the tenants?
Maintenance costs and what?
Well, rent.
No, I just get the rent.
And in that rent, did you calculate maintenance?
Probably, yeah. I would
So
probably
why
do that, yeah.
is rent going up?
Well, because I have to give my men raises occasionally, and
Do you? You
cost
hire
of
other
living.
building. You hire other companies. If I have 40 houses to paint, I'm not going to hire people to do it. I'm going to hire a company and say, okay, this is the amount of money. Do it.
I'm a business owner, man.
As a business owner, you hire other businesses. You're not going to do it yourself. You're going to give it to people who are specialized.
Even if I was a sandwich owner, my sandwich prices are going to go up eventually.
But now you're talking about sandwiches. But that's somewhat more explainable, because to make sandwiches, you have to buy either flour or bread. Both of them are increasing in price. And labor may increase in price, but not nearly as much as rent is. So why is rent increasing in price?
Well, typically your raises have to go along at least with the increase.
Nope.
In...
No. There isn't a company out there that won't use increased pricing as a way to inflate their own prices so they will make more money. If they can, they will. And housing companies definitely can. Why can housing companies definitely do that?
I don't know.
Because the law of supply and demand.
Right.
Housing companies can ask higher mortgages for the stupid reason that they can, because you won't find another place to live that will be either as cheap or cheaper. And if that's the case, then basically you're creating a housing problem. You're not trying to find a solution, you're creating it. So if you're going to use tax money for the poor people to afford certain houses, you've just created a bigger housing problem. Because you just gave landlords the opportunity to raise raise rents even more. Because governments will pay for it. And as long as the houses are filled and no new houses are being built, they can ask whatever they bloody well want. Because people are going to have to pay it because they need a house. And if they can't afford it, governments will afford it for them.
Right, exactly.
Welcome back to the problem. Therefore, the problem is regulations. Even if they do it to help people.
Okay.
There hasn't been a government plan yet that was invented to help people that had a massive down effect. Not one.
But what if Martha McSaley comes in?
Yeah, then she'll fuck it up too, because she's also a politician. She might mean well, but that doesn't mean it will work. Because every regulation will have a side effect. And that side effect will always be in favor of the people who own and not in favor of the people who do not.
Okay, so what if she comes... But, Bonway, hear me out. What if she comes in with a whole bunch of industries like Boeing, and people start making like crazy amounts of money?
Yeah, that will only mean that the rents will go up, and the people who won't be able to afford it still won't be able to afford it. And because there are no more houses, there still is going to be a housing shortage.
Well, not if not if those people, the people that are actually working those jobs, are the ones that are making, like the people that are in the low.
Okay, I recognize the mistake you keep making, so I'm going to try this once again.
I want to give the retards jobs, Modwing.
That's all right. You can give the retards all the jobs you want. I have 1,100 people and 1,000 houses. How is Jobs going to fix that?
Okay.
Now, I'm sorry, mate, but you keep making the same mistake over again. You think that prosperity will create houses out of thin air. You need to build the bloody houses to make people have a place to live. Once people have a place to live, yeah, sure, invest in your economy, invest in your industry. But it starts with housing. It doesn't start with industry. If you start with industry, you will have people sleeping in their cars outside of Silicon Valley offices because they can't afford to live anywhere, even though they have a bloody job.
Okay, so what do you think the average wage is?
It hasn't anything to do with the wage.
Yeah.
If the average wage is €10,000 a month or $10,000 a month, and I have 9,000 houses to rent in an area where 10,000 people need a house, what do you think the average wage will be? And what do you think the average rent will be?
Okay.
If people earn $10,000 a month, the average rent will be $9,000 a month because the bloody housing companies can charge this because, hey, there are not enough places for people to live.
Okay, so the average annual salary.
Hi there, Paulo.
Hi, Maudwijn. Listen, Maudwijn, let me dumb it down for Gasper. I think he doesn't really get... Gasper, there are 20 houses for lease in your neighborhood. There are 30 candidates for those houses.
Paulo, please turn down your microphone a bit, mate, because you are very loud.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, there are 20 houses for lease in your neighborhood. There are 30 candidates for those houses. Which ones get the house?
That's not the issue, though.
Yes, it is. Which ones get the house?
That is the main issue, to be honest.
No, the issue is that the house...
That is the issue.
Paulo, let him answer.
Which ones get the...
Paulo, let him answer.
The issue... Well, there's two issues, but like the main issue is that the people in this state can basically afford on the income that they're getting, basically their housing cost. And then we've got a whole slew of people who can't afford housing at all.
But why do you think they can't afford housing? Because you keep missing the point. The inability to afford housing isn't based on your income alone. Again, coming back to
if the argument is that if we just increase the number of domiciles that are available, and that's somehow going to decrease the pricing of the housing. Well,
it is.
Well, it's part of it. Well, I won't say it's at all, but it's definitely part.
Well, here's what I would say to that. It won't work in Arizona because of where people are located and where the work is.
No, that's not true.
Well, because the value of a house and the value of a rent are there. It's based on your locality in the valley.
No, like, it's not.
It is.
No,
because
it's not. The price of a house is based on one thing and one thing only: supply and demand.
Which brings me back to my question. There are 20 houses available for lease in your neighborhood, and there are 30 candidates. Which ones get the houses?
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Don't shout.
And it only
Don't shout, please.
The rental prices are the same across the entire valley.
Okay, that could be true, but that doesn't negate anything.
Okay.
No, don't get me wrong. I understand why you like to think it does, but it won't, and this is why. It's not a power play of money. It can only become a power play of money if there are restrictions to the average person. There are people in America now. Sorry, go on.
No. Why don't we do this? Okay, so here's my solution. My solution is bring in more industries so that you can raise the wage of people, and then also introduce new skills to the people.
Yeah, that won't do a fucking thing. That won't help. That won't help.
Well, hang on. So that they can learn how to do new things.
That won't help. That won't help. I'm going to explain to you in a different way, or at least I'm going to try to.
All right. Well, tell me your master solution.
I already told you my master solution, but you didn't want to hear it. But I'm going to try it slightly different. We're going to raise the minimum wage for everyone in America.
I hate it.
Yep. Why?
Because if you.
No, why?
Okay, so we're starting with regulation. Okay, so raising it to what? 15?
100. Why not?
$100 million.
Sure, why not? Doesn't matter. It means absolutely nothing. And I'm going to explain to you why it means absolutely nothing. So now everyone in America has more than enough money to buy everything they want to buy. But there's still not enough products for everyone to buy. So what's your money worth?
This is going to result in keep building houses, right?
Well, I could use this example in housing. I can use it in food. I can use it in just about any example you want. If there is more demand than there is supply, prices will go up to what people are willing to pay. Even if the average person will pay more than you can afford, therefore putting you out of the market because supply isn't enough. If you want to change this issue, the problem isn't increasing money, the problem is increasing the supply. So if you want to combat the housing problem, you need to increase
Okay, but
what do you need to increase? If you want to combat the housing problem, what do you need to increase?
Right, but here's the thing, though.
The supply of housing, yes, that.
If we're talking about housing and we're talking about mortgage, I'm right there with you. If we're talking about rentals, right?
Same thing.
No.
Yeah, same thing. If there are more rental houses out there, companies cannot raise the rent prices as excessively as they are doing now. And why are they able to do it now? Because there is a lack of renting facilities. If I'm going to price myself out of the market, people will rent somewhere else. If they cannot rent somewhere else, I can put up any price I bloody well want because they have to take it anyway. And if they can't afford it, government will help them.
Right. So how about we do what Martha McSally was talking about?
Yeah, let's get more industry in there.
No.
Oh. What did she want to do then?
Well, this is what I said right at the beginning, is deregulate particular commercial zones. right? And then only allow people to put up low, low cost housing, and then
That won't change anything.
yeah, it will.
No, because she's still regulating. So
No,
if the
well,
government is
it's not. It's. Well, I guess you could call it regulate. But
well, I mean, you called it
basically
regulating. I mean, if you want me to use a different word, by all means, let me know.
dezoning.
Which is still a regulation, right? Because it's done by government.
Well, not if people, but no, because the hole in the market is going to be obviously filled by people who are going to put up housing.
No, it's not.
Because
It's going to be put up by people who get a green light from government.
okay, well, there's commercial zoning and then there's residential zoning.
So we're still talking about regulations.
If I take if I take a little piece out of the commercial zoning and then I leave a hole there, some asshole's going to come in and say, "Hey, you know what? I can actually put up some housing there."
So we're still talking about regulation.
No.
How is that not regulation?
Is zoning regulation?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, it is. So let's go back to the example of the desert. How much did companies have to pay government to be able to build in the desert?
Yeah, it's pretty cheap land, actually.
I believe that. How much?
What do you want, a number?
Yeah.
God, if you want land out here, per acre, well, it depends really where you're purchasing.
Obviously it does.
You can get it as cheap as $1 an acre in particular areas.
$1 an acre. So when the government says, and in that area you're allowed to build, how expensive will that area become? Will it still be $1 an acre, you think?
Sure.
No, it won't, because several companies will say, oh, you know what? I want to build. So the government is going to auction off the land they allow you to build on. And who's going to win that auction?
Well, Nancy Pelosi, obviously.
The one that pays the most.
Okay.
So how is that not a way to drive up cost? How is that not going to drive up cost?
Well, I don't know.
Right. There is your problem. Because it will drive up cost. And because you're in the middle of a desert, everything needs to be transported in. So your water lines, your electricity, your roads, everything needs to be built, which is also part of the price of building a new settlement. Fair enough. This is going to increase the pricing. All of a sudden, housing prices are going through the roof again. And they're still not going to build enough houses to house everyone. They're going to make sure that there is a shortage of living spaces. You know why? Because of supply and demand. If I build enough houses for everyone, I cannot ask as much money for a house as if I buy a little fewer number than that. Because when I have a little fewer number of houses available, a bidding war will start. And what will bidding wars do? It'll drive up pricing. Again, supply and demand.
Well, Daddy Modwayne, so what do you think we should do? Do we bring in the Democrats and have them do what they did in Palo?
No.
Paolo, I'm hearing a whole lot of static. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, static is Paulo. Yeah. Something wrong with his mic, I think. But no, you get government out of it. I mean, yeah, sure. Government can regulate on safety issues, but not on pricing.
Well, so those were the two options that were given to me. The option number one was cinema, which is her idea was just basically continue building and then subsidize housing in the inner cities, and then Big Sally's idea was basically bring in more industries like Boeing and other places to Arizona to increase the wages of the people here, to give people more options for entry level work, right? And she's also like she was a anti-immigration person, right? So like
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, I liked her that one. But that was the idea, was just basically increase the wages of people on the lower rung, right? And the idea is that those people will in time, climb the ladder and become the high earners that the state needs.
There is a term for that. Do you know what term that is?
No.
Wishful thinking.
No, I call that long-term planning, but
no.
okay.
No. Long-term planning is saying, okay, we got this, we got that. Let's see where it goes, but we want to achieve this and that.
Right.
Okay. But if you want to increase industry, but you don't want to increase housing, you're not going to increase either of them.
Well, okay, so if you were presented with both of those solutions, what would you have done?
What do you mean both of the solutions? Which two?
Those are the two solutions.
Which are the two? Because I might not understand, because I've been making my points as well. Which two solutions do you think I have?
Okay, so solution one is good old hooker boots.
What does that mean?
Cinema's position, which is continue building out into the valley, and then also subsidize cheap housing for people in the inner cities. Or the alternative is McSally, which is bringing in new industries to raise the people up and then control the immigration that's coming into the state. Right?
Okay.
But we're talking.
If you are to choose between,
we're talking from raising people's incomes from like $10 an hour up to like 40.
Yeah,
that's
or 100 or $1 million. We've already been there.
No. I mean, like people would be kids, people that were like 18 and starting out would be making a lot more money. We're talking like.
But that money is worth nothing if you can't spend it on the things you need.
That's a lot of money in Arizona.
It may be. Listen, if you have $1 million, but you can't buy food in the grocery stores because there is no food, what is your money worth? This is the problem that Soviet Russia had. People had money, but they couldn't go to the shops to buy food because there wasn't any. So what's your money worth?
How we got there?
Because that's the same. It's the same thing. It's about supply and demand. And people seem to think that, well, you know what? If people have more money, the problem is solved. No, because there is still a supply and demand at the bottom of this whole problem.
Marvin,
Yes.
here's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So you graduate. You graduate from. Do you have high school there?
Yeah.
I don't even
A
know.
university. We have a law. Sure.
No, like your normal school, like when you're 18 or 20
Yeah.
or however. Right. Okay. So imagine if when you graduated from school and you had no idea what you're going to do, right? Instead of getting a job making like piddly fuck a sandwich shop or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you could be making like 2 or 3 times that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
you're gonna have to work for it. You're gonna be
Yeah.
working in a
Sure.
factory,
I have
but
I
you're
have a
gonna.
fair job, but I'll make a fair income. Sure.
Okay. Not fair income, like a good amount of money for your age.
More than fair.
Like,
Okay. Still good with that. Go on.
okay. That's what Big Sally wanted to bring to Arizona.
Yeah. Sure. And it still won't change anything. And you seem to be unable or unwilling or, well, let's be friendly. Let's say unable. You're unable to realize why it won't change anything because you don't understand supply and demand.
Because we're gonna go back to the housing prices.
Well, housing is one of the major example in this, but there are other examples in this as well. But yes, you cannot increase industry if your housing situation is fucked. Because if you want industry, those industry need people to live somewhere. You need housing. And then, if you don't have that set up right, you have what they have in Silicon Valley, where people are living in the parking lots of the company they work, in their car, because they can't afford a house.
Oh well, that's a completely different situation.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
no. Well, California's a
A shithole?
no. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the rental prices out in California are higher, but it's not. Oh boy. Um, how much is it? Okay. We're gonna get into an autistic conversation about pricing, but if you look at rental prices in California, they are in Southern California, they're probably going to be about 3K roughly.
Okay.
Okay. It's far and away different than Arizona. Arizona has a similar problem to uh, California, but like it is far and away different. It by degree, it is much different. So no, and here's the other thing too is that most people when they rent when they're coming most people rent with a cohabitant, right out the gate. What I'm saying is that if you had our problem in Arizona is that we don't have jobs that will start people on a good track right off the bat. Now, if we had that, it would be fine. And our rental prices and all that shit wouldn't fucking matter. People would be able to buy houses. all that shit wouldn't fucking matter. Now, you make the argument, sure, that the rental prices are just going to go up because the people are going to be making more money, etc., and then we should be building out further, etc., yada yada. Fair dues, but right now, in my view, I think that
Yes.
yeah, right now I think that I think the most important thing is to get the wages up,
No, it's not.
and also
It's not.
and
It's
also
actually,
to get
it's the fastest way to destroy your community. It's the fastest way to
well,
destroy your economy. It's the fastest way to destroy your industry.
well, it's also but it gets people trained.
No, it doesn't.
In,
Training gets people trained. More money does not.
right, but they have to have the money to be able to do things.
No, that's not true either.
Anyway.
Listen, if your industry increases and they need certain people, and those people need a certain education, if they cannot find the educated people locally, they will get them elsewhere. If elsewhere is too expensive, they will train them themselves locally. So, if you want to make sure your industry has a good way of surviving, you need to have a stable market. And for a stable market, you need a positive housing situation. It starts with housing.
Okay. So again, I'll give you the two options that I was given.
And they're both crap.
Well, those are the okay. So which one do you pick?
If I'm to
Of the two
choose,
crap
if I am to choose the lesser of two evils, why do I have to choose at all?
Because you, well, I guess you don't have to vote.
Right, so that's what I'm going to do then. I'm not going to, because it's useless. Both of them will be harmful. Both of them will not work, and both of them will basically go against everything I just said. And it will harm us in the end. It will harm our society.
I'm still like pro Sally. I'm
No, that's all right.
Sorry.
And I understand. Let's be honest. If we look at politics, and this is true in Europe and this is true in America, most politicians
No,
are
it's
socialists.
no, it's not.
Yeah, they are. We might not
No,
like to
it's
admit
not.
it, but it's true.
No, it's not a. Well, maybe it's a little bit better.
Hell, even if I look
No.
in the Netherlands, politicians that are considered to be right-wing in the Netherlands are still socialistic at heart.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's it. It's just that, like, my view is that I'd like to let people have opportunity, and I think that maybe it's that. Maybe I'm a little.
But the
too
first thing people need
optimistic
for
with it.
opportunities is a place to rest their head.
Right.
What's if we look at the Maslow pyramid of, oh, I forgot the name.
No, don't let Maslow's. Don't get me on that guy. That guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but he was correct.
No, Maslow's pyramid of black gay shit. Okay.
Let me see.
Pyramid of necessities or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I forgot the name too.
Maslow.
In the Netherlands, we simply call it the Pyramid of Maslow. We don't even call it the hierarchy of needs, which is how it's called in English and in America. Maslow Pyramid of Hierarchy. Hierarchy of needs. This is not bullshit. This is true wherever you go. That's why, for example, in Germany, they have a saying. First das Fressen, dann das Moral.
Can I ask
First
you-
we need food, then we can start moralizing.
Right. Is food free in your country?
Of course not.
Right. Okay.
Is it in your country?
No.
Ah, there you go. Should it be free
But
in your
for-
country?
But first we need food, right?
Well, I mean, there are several basic needs. Food is absolutely one of the primary. Food, water, shelter. That's the very basic need. The second need is security. The third is psychological needs. Then we come in family and feeling that you're part of something. And then becomes the self-fulfillment. The ability to be able to sustain yourself and live a positive life. Roughly. This is in rough steps. But it starts with having the safety of food, water and housing. And it shouldn't be free. Obviously it shouldn't be free, because once it's free, it'll falter. It will fail. Because then I'm going to point at the Moustopia experiment. What happened to the mice that lived in a square, I think it was a square meter, where everything was secure for them? How long did it take for them to die out? They had all the food in the world. They had housing, they had water, and no threats at all. And still they all died. Why?
Right.
Well, we know why. Because it's important to have a goal. Self-fulfillment needs, which is the top of Maslow's pyramids, isn't only because you need to go there, but you also need to go there as a person to be able to live. Because if you have no goals, you will die. People underestimate this. But it's very important to have something to live for.
Fair enough.
So, having something to live for, yeah, sure. You want a society to thrive, the basic needs need to be provided. They don't need to be provided for free, they have to work for it, but it has to be there. It has to be achievable. If it's not achievable, then there is no safety. There is no security. There is no food, water, warmth, and rest. And if the basic needs aren't there, I'm sorry, but you will fail. How many successful homeless people do you know? Now, I won't say there won't be any, but the chance of a homeless person becoming a very successful person are slim
Well.
indeed.
Well, we can go back to that if you want, but honestly, I don't think that. Well, first of all, I don't think that anybody here in Arizona is in any way. They may be poor, but they're not destitute. They're not out of electricity or water.
Yeah, poor is not a problem. As long as your basic needs are given, you can, well, given, if you are secure in your basic needs, you can be poor and still have a good life. Poverty
Right, so
is not the thing.
Okay, so from that though, that's if we're working off of Maslow's shit, we're working off of that basis, right? So all of those needs are met. What tier of the pyramid are we on there? We've got
At this
the
point in
water-
time in America,
Yeah.
all basic needs are not met.
Well, oh, shut up.
They're not!
Under normal circumstances.
They are not
Don't
met.
Don't give me that COVID crap.
I'm not
under
talking
normal
about COVID. Even under normal circumstances, they are not met.
Well,
let me put that up for
If
people.
we have to, okay, we're working from people that are actually in the working class.
Of course, people have to work. Of course, people have to work. Having a job is very important. I do not want people to get handouts. I mean, handouts are good for a short period of time, but not for a long time.
That's not what I'm. Okay, that's not what I'm saying.
No,
I'm
but it's what
talking
I'm saying now. You need food, water, warmth, and a safe place to rest.
Right. Okay. And I'm saying that that's not a concern here in Arizona. We have to work. We have to work from people that are actually at the working class level. The, the rest of them, the people that are below that level, I'm happy to talk about that at
So,
a different time. But
once again, we know, and this is true for Arizona as well, not all homeless people do not have a job. So, being homeless and being unemployed are not interlinked. There is something else at the basis of the problem of homelessness. Now, there are people who are homeless that all the money in the world and all the houses in the world won't help because there's something wrong with them. But that's not everyone. We have people that are homeless that could have a house. So why are they not having a house?
because they can't afford it.
Why can't they afford it? What's the cause that housing is unaffordable? And Athena, I'm going to respond to the chat real fast. How do I feel about those on welfare who are disabled? There are people who are disabled and on welfare who can't help themselves. And I have respect for them. And I love, this is my job, or at least it was my job, to help people find ways to get forward in their life. And I'm going to start doing that job soon again. Currently I'm unemployed, but I'll start in a few weeks. There's a difference with being on welfare because of being disabled or being on welfare because why not?
All right. So I'm going to start being a dick, and I'm going to Maudwayne, have you ever made a bad decision in your life?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Do you think it's possible that some of these people that are not on welfare, maybe they've made bad decisions in their life?
Yeah, sure.
Right. Okay. So at what point do we stop concerning ourselves with people?
This is not concerning ourselves with these people. There are, as I said, homeless people that do have jobs, right, but they're still homeless.
Well, okay, so what level of Maslow are we on?
Then we're still on the basic needs.
Are we talking about the poor people?
No, we're talking about everyone.
Okay, so we'll pick a level, bud.
We're still on the basic needs. There are still
housing. Okay.
There are still people. No, not
okay.
There are people with jobs that don't have housing. Can you have a job and be a poor person?
Can you have a job and be a poor person? Well, how old are you?
Does it matter?
Are you working at McDonald's?
Does it matter?
Are you 45?
Does it matter?
Yes.
So basically you're telling me that there are jobs in America that will not pay a wage.
Yeah.
So it's better in America to be unemployed than to have a job?
No. What I'm saying is that there's a reason that people have that level of poverty, and if they've made bad decisions in their life, here's another possibility. Let's say you're the 45-year-old guy working at McDonald's making that $12 an hour. Am I supposed to feel bad for you?
Depends. I don't know.
Well, why do I care? Because honestly,
see you later, Jimmy.
if you're 45, right? You must have made some horrendous decisions to
Doesn't
get to
matter.
that age.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it does. Oh, it absolutely does.
How?
It absolutely does.
How?
Well, because, dude, how old are you?
I'm over 40. I can't remember the complete number, and I'm not going to calculate it now, but over 40.
Well, over 40.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you made relationships in your life?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have family members that care about you?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay. Now, pretend you're the 45-year-old guy working at McDonald's, and you have absolutely nobody, right? You're just
Who says that? Who says?
McDonald's.
I know people who work in not McDonald's per se, but in restaurants or whatnot. They're my age. They have a family. They love
Right.
him.
Right.
So who's to say that these people don't have a family who loves them?
Well,
You just did, but why?
because that is their social safety net, sir.
No, it's
Those
not.
are the people. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Those other people may still
That's the
depend on
point.
him.
Yeah, sure, for his $20,000 a year, or however much.
There are people who make less than that.
Right.
Yes. So now
Okay.
people who
So-
make less than that shouldn't have a house?
Well, I mean,
Shouldn't have affordable living space?
no, they should have a house, but their house is probably coming from their family members. I would
Why?
assume.
Why?
did they make
Listen,
it
if I make...
How did they make it to 45 years old working at McDonald's?
That's a different story. Some people like working at McDonald's.
Well-
I don't know. I don't care.
Well, what a luxury to just work at McDonald's.
Actually,
guess.
I know a guy who, well, I don't know him that well, but I know him, who works at a how do you call it, processing plant for mail, sorting plant for mail. The dude
Right.
has 2 university degrees, and he's working a minimum wage job because he enjoys it.
Well,
It's amazing to me considering the education he has, but he enjoys
do you
it.
think we should subsidize that guy?
No.
Do you think he?
I don't think we should
Oh.
subsidize him at all.
Okay.
Does that mean he shouldn't be able to afford a house?
I think that if he was doing everything that he could possibly be doing in his life, he could afford a house. Yeah, sure.
He should be able to afford a house even when he's working a minimum wage job. That's the whole point. Back to the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Food, warmth, water, and a place to rest. Even with a
well-
minimum wage, you should be able to afford housing. So what is the cause that you cannot afford housing?
Oh no, he could afford housing.
Well,
I mean,
in his case, he could. That is true.
how much does a tent cost?
Right. You know you're not allowed to live in a tent, right?
What?
That even-
is that
even-
regulation?
Even in America, there are places where you're not allowed to live in a tent.
Well, we got plenty of people living in tents.
Yeah, there are people, but on average, it's still not allowed. It's not everywhere, but I know, for example, in certain places in Arizona, by law, it's not allowed. Now, obviously, if you're of a
You know, here's the thing, bud. You might want to look at downtown Arizona. Yeah, there's plenty of people living in tents down there. Typically older people that have their Social Security apparently has not paid enough for them to have an apartment.
yeah, how funny is that? They could afford one, but now they can't because why again?
Probably poor decisions in their life.
Or it wasn't their decision why they can't afford it. It was the decision
yeah.
of governments because they started subsidizing housing, which caused housing to get more expensive.
No, I don't think so.
You
I
don't
think
think so? Okay. Well, you don't have to
No, I
think
don't
so,
think
but
so.
we know that this
No,
is
I
the
don't think
case.
so. No, because like here's the thing, pal.
Yeah.
I think that I think that people start out in life.
Hey, Renovatio.
Well, it could be good or bad, either way.
I'm
But
sorry, mate. Keep digging that hole, but you're wrong, and I can't imagine what fine way you'll find now to explain why you don't think you're wrong.
well, because I think that well, number one, I don't think it's anybody's responsibility to take care of anybody else.
Fair
number
enough.
one.
Fair enough.
Number two, I think that if you make it all the way to fucking 45 or however fucking old, you know, if you've made it that far and you don't have family, like if
It's not
here's
about
the thing,
family.
man.
It's not about family.
Here's the thing, dude. Like,
Okay.
if there is an actual like poor, say, destitute, crying in the fucking gutter child, I am not going to piss in that child's face.
Fair
right?
enough.
I'm gonna pick that kid up.
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
But the majority of people are not that.
I don't care about the majority of people. That's not the point. I'm not even asking you to do handouts because I don't care about handouts. The problem is, and problem remains, that if you want to change the situation of homelessness and housing problems in certain areas, it's not government regulations that's going to do that for you. It's government subsidies on housing that caused the problem. As I said, my brother is renting a house that would fit in my living room, and he's paying twice as much as I do. But I bought, and he's renting. And he's renting, and his rent is controlled, so they officially call it. And once it reaches a certain amount, and he can't afford it, government will help him pay. How come?
How does that make?
How
does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense at all. This is the point I'm trying to make. You're talking about how subsidizing housing is a good idea.
No. How does it? No, I'm saying in your context, right?
What, you think it's different than in America?
No, in the Netherlands.
How do you think it's different in America?
How does that make any sense to you? How do you? Okay, so
it doesn't make sense to you. To me, it's only happening because government is involved. The same is true in America. It only happens because of government is involved. Hell, you're even talking about how it might be a good idea to subsidize poor housing.
You want to talk about the Netherlands?
Yeah, sure, go on.
Sure. Okay.
Same principle.
How much? It is the same principle.
Of course it is.
In the Netherlands, you have I wouldn't say a shortage of housing, but you have
officially in the Netherlands we have a shortage of housing, which is absolutely ludicrous because we don't, but we have a shortage of affordable housing.
Right, because you cannot. This is the same thing.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The difference is not having access to affordable housing is based on government intervention. Having a shortage of housing is based on government intervention. Hell, if my house would burn down today, I could sell the soil my house is built on for more money than the value of my house. Because the government in the Netherlands, especially my local government, has raised the price of the land so high that it's worth more than my house. How is this not government intervention?
Barwin.
Yes.
Remind me never to debate you.
Yeah, I try to know what I'm talking about, mate. And I'm sorry, but you simply do not. I understand.
Oh,
I understand that you don't want to give handouts to people. Hell, I agree with you on that. But it's government regulations that makes everything so fucking expensive. Inflation is caused by governments. Inflation is not a natural thing. Even though millions of people would like to tell you that inflation is a natural thing. It is not. It's created. It's artificially created. One of the main reasons, or one of the main causes of inflation, for example, is minimum wage. Because by making wage worth more money, you're deflating the money. Because if you can only build 10 cars in a month, for example, but now I have to pay you twice as much money, then obviously that car is going to be twice as expensive. Which means your money will be less valuable because you can still only buy the same amount of cars you could before. Usually inflation goes a little bit further, so you probably could even afford less cars than before. This is true for cars, bread, housing, no matter. The more the government gets involved, the more the prices go up. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Do you want to change the problems people are having? The first thing you need to fix is the housing problem. The first way to fix the housing problem is for governments to say, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to get involved anymore. We're just going to stand here to look at the safety of things, but other than that, puh.
right. So the safe. Oh God.
No, you can call me Modwayne, that's okay.
Do you want to debate the safety net?
Well, it's the same principle, and we've been busy for 2 hours. If you want to, but I think a lot of people will not stay that long anymore. We can still do it. We can do it another time. Funny enough, the principles are the same.
Right.
So
Well,
a safety net should be no more than a safety net. It shouldn't be a permanent thing. Obviously, there are a few exceptions to this rule, but the word few cannot be emphasized enough. Cars made out of bread, indeed, Renovatio. The thing is, governments need to stop influence economies, because the more they do, the more it will work in the opposite direction. Hell, I don't want to be rude to Americans, but your COVID, how do you call it? Well, gift packages, they're called different, obviously, relief packages, are going to cost you for the coming decades. Your economy will be completely fucked for the coming decades. And it's not because you can't produce, but your country is so much in debt, so incredibly much in debt. It's amazing. America needs to loan money from China, so much debt it has. Funny enough, America is still providing aid to China because China is a poor developing country. I'm not really sure how to explain that to people, but that's the reality of it. How bizarre is that?
How much debt is the Netherlands in currently?
Too much. Not as much as America, though. Not nearly as much.
Well,
But still
per
too much.
capita.
Oh, I would have to look it up.
When did you start your wonderful expedition into Gibbs? Was it the 60s?
I have no idea what you mean, mate. You have to try to
Well,
clarify that a
when
bit.
did you when did you start doing social programs? And see, the only country, in my view, the only country that has actually done social programs correctly, well, two, Switzerland and Sweden. And
Yes,
Sweden
and you'd
was
be wrong in
after,
both of them.
well, Sweden after the collapse, after they had their whole snafu. Now they've basically limited their government from spending beyond their actual production levels, so they can't go beyond whatever their GDP is for the year for their spending in the state. And I don't know about Switzerland. Switzerland, I'm pretty sure, doesn't have a hell of a lot of social programs, if you will. Pretty sure they're fucking net zero.
Yeah, I don't think so. At this point in time, the Dutch debt is, well, it's going down, but we're currently at almost 400 million in debt. Is that 400 million or 400 billion? I have to look it up. Yeah, it's quite a difference.
Well, it's going down.
Yeah, it's going down, but it's 400 billion roughly, which is a lot.
48.6% of GDP is your deficit.
Yeah, which is way too much in my humble opinion, but it is going down. So that's decent.
Well, that's your debt.
Per capita, we have about 23,000 euro debt. Per working person, it's 46,000. So what is it in America?
So your debt, national debt, 435 billion US dollars. That should sound pretty impressive.
So how much is
US? US is like in the trillions.
Yes. And 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. Just, to put it out there.
Well, yeah, sure. Okay. How many people do you have in your country? Like 3 million?
18 million.
Okay. That's less than the state of
Yeah, probably.
Texas.
It's also less than the size of the state of Texas, so it's a small country.
Yeah, we're 27 trillion. So we're winning.
Yeah, okay. Well, you've got a bigger debt than anyone else in the world. I'm not sure if I would call that winning, to be honest, but okay.
Right. Well, yeah, it's winning.
So how much is that per capita, per person?
I don't know. Divide that by 330 million. So that's like 0.65-ish trillion. That's it.
0.65 trillion per capita?
Well, I mean, that's...
So, 0.65 trillion. 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. So 0.65 trillion is basically 650 billion.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That sounds like a mistake. 350 Americans divided by how many trillion?
Why don't we do the... You know what? I'm not going to do the math right now because I'm just going to embarrass myself.
Fair enough. So give me the number. 350 million divided by how many trillion? I didn't know the trillion number.
How many people in the country?
No, the debt. How many trillion is the debt?
27.
27 trillion. Okay. Now, let's take off 6 zeros of the amount of Americans, so that's 350 people, and let's take 6 of the 21 trillion. So if we take 6 zeros off, it would be 21 million still. So 350 divided by 21 million.
To be fair, most of those are in bonds.
To be fair, debt is debt.
Well, debt to people in the country.
Debt is debt.
Well, how much debt do you have?
As I said,
No,
per capita.
outside of your country? How much of that debt is with Deutsche Bank versus bonds in your own country?
Debt is debt. It doesn't matter. It's partly maybe at banks, partly maybe at this. Debt is debt.
That's a little. Well, it depends.
No, it doesn't. Debt is debt. It's simple as that.
The bonds are held by the people, and then it's fine. So that's my view.
Yeah, keep believing that, mate.
Wow, I was hoping you were going to buy that.
That's the thing, though, and that's why the financial elite is basically buying up America, and this is happening in Europe too. It's sick as it is, but that's how it is.
Well, no, well that's my curiosity. Is when is the Do you want to continue the stream, or would you like to end it?
I will leave it up. I will leave it up to you, mate. I have.
I'm happy to keep talking, but I feel like I'm fucking your stream up. So.
Well, people are logging off already, but then again, we have been busy for 2 hours, so I can understand that. And in all fairness, mate, you seem to defend a position whilst not really understanding what you're defending.
Well, yeah. Well, no. Well, that's not fair.
Thank you for calculating it, John.
I understand my position. It's just that how to put it. I can see both sides of my position.
I fail to recognize that. I fail to recognize that. I should say. Sorry. I don't think you see both sides of the position. I really think you are. I mean, yeah, you see a difference between Democrat and Republican in this case, or in the case of Arizona, the candidate you wanted and the candidate that won. But you do not see that both of them have the wrong idea.
Well.
And therein lies the problem. This is what South Park used to say a long time ago. You have to choose between a douche and a turd sandwich. Okay.
Well, yeah. What you're choosing between. What you're choosing between is just like which direction do you want to go? And,
yeah. So how are we going to fuck up our economy now? Are we going to go left to fuck it up, or are we going to go right to fuck it up, while still fucking it up? So hey, you know what? Let's go there.
Well,
see, if your options are two losing options, you shouldn't make a choice, or you should choose to do something else.
No, I don't agree with that. Like, you still hate. Look, man. doing nothing is in my view. You can call me a fucking retard. Doing nothing, I think, is the worst decision.
True. So voting left or right in this case is equivalent of doing nothing.
No,
Yes, because both of the outcomes are going to be a negative. So you're not helping anyone. It's a negative option. So, in effect, you're doing nothing.
No, I think that I still...
In a way, I understand the Americans that charged the Congress the 6th, because at least they're making a stand. Whether I agree with the violence or not, and so much violence it wasn't, let's be honest, but whether I agree with the violence or not is completely different. But at least they did something, because they recognize Republican or Democrat, fuck it, it doesn't matter. It's both bullshit. So either you're going to get bit by the dog or by the cat. You're still going to get bit.
Well. So, okay, well, this is the same thing. Like, this is how I look at. Well, maybe I am an idiot, and that's fine. But
it is fine. That is true.
Fuck off.
What? I agreed with you. How is it my fault? I agreed with you. I'm just kidding, though. I don't think you're an idiot. But we are all project of our education. And therein lies the problem.
Hey, man, I went to university for a while.
Yep.
I think.
That doesn't make it any better.
Well, look, I think that it's not a... I know it's going to look like a tribal thing, but, for me... I'm always my angling has always been towards giving people opportunity, and if you give people enough opportunity, they'll surprise you, and then they'll come out with good shit, and that's always been my position. And when I look at Martha McSally, her idea of bringing people into the country, bringing businesses into the country and whatnot, giving people opportunity to create positions within these companies and whatnot, and like build wealth and all that crap. What I'm seeing there is people getting a chance to prove what they can do. And when I look at Democrat side, which is good old hooker boots, all I see there is just get on the fucking dole, faggot. That's all I see.
Yeah, which is also a problem. I'll not deny that that's a problem, because it is.
Well, that's my issue, right? It's just that what I want to see. If I'm going to put somebody into office, what I want to see is somebody who is going to give us options and let us fucking fly.
But economic growth needs stability. So, for example, when Trump was able to get certain jobs to come back to America, it was a good thing, and a lot of these jobs went to places where people were suffering, but they at least had a house. They might not have been able to afford that house for long, but they had a house. And then when the jobs came back, they could afford their houses again. So your basic necessity was already met. To think that you can increase an industry when your basic necessity isn't met is not even ludicrous, it's downright stupid. You need to secure, basically, the basis of the Maslow pyramid.
I don't know, man. I think Americans a little crazier than that. But
no, actually they weren't. What's the first thing the colonizers did when they landed in, what was it, Plymouth?
What were the first things the Americans did when they were traveling across the entire U.S.?
They were creating settlements.
No.
Yeah?
No.
Okay, then what was it?
No, they were driving across the entire United States to... here's a better example.
No. Finish your thought, please, because I think you know where you're going, and I think you know I'm right.
You mean the Homesteaders Act?
What was the first thing the settlers did? Even when they went to California on the gold rush, what was the first thing they did?
Ate their children.
They built settlements. Why is that the first thing they did?
Because they wanted to set up good real estate.
No, because you need the safety of a house. Bloody hell. You're not just being an idiot, you're being you're doing your best to be really, really stupid. And I have to admit, you're performing well.
Thank you.
No, but seriously, you might not like psychology. Fair enough. I don't care. The idea of the hierarchy of need, Maslow hierarchy of need, isn't based on what someone thought up. It's based on what we recognize to be true. That's why, for example, in Germany, they will say, yeah, first you need food. Once you have food, you can start moralizing. This is why most of the Antifa goons in America, and not just in America, are middle-class kids. Because they don't have to worry about a roof over their head and food, because that's already been taken care of. And now they can moralize to the rest of us who doesn't have that fixed. It's easy to moralize once you are not affected by the things you are moralizing about. Do you really want to save a society? Make sure that the basic needs are being met. And from there, everything can grow. If you don't have that, you cannot grow. Simple as that.
Well, Modwine. Dang, you're smarter than I thought you were.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment, to be honest. Bloody hell, how low must you have thought about me?
Oh, well, I thought I was going to have fun this stream.
Oh, I had fun.
Oh, you had fun.
Didn't you?
Wow, I got trounced. I don't think I won a single point. But
yeah, well, I mean, if you want to win a single point from time to time, try to be factually correct.
Oh, you mean prepare?
Listen, the thing is, the reason why I'm prepared for these conversations is, one, it has been my job for the last 20 years. Two, before I started doing this job, I worked in social housing. I'm trained as a, how do you call it? Maatschappelijk werker. I don't know what the English word for that is. Social worker, in a way. I'm trained as a social worker. I've worked in psychiatry for 20 years. I worked in social housing. I've worked in homelessness shelters. I worked in refugee camps. So I know a little bit. And I'll not pretend to know it all either. I don't have all the answers, obviously not. No one does. So, yeah. But I know some things.
John makes it look easy. I'm just saying.
John makes it look easy.
Looks easy.
What?
What did I say?
What?
Look.
Disagreeing with me. John makes disagreeing with me look easy.
Yeah.
Well, John, I think that's a compliment for you, mate. Not sure why, but... No, listen. I understand what you're saying, and I understand it because when we were originally planning this conversation, your position was welfare is a bad thing. We didn't do this conversation today, right? But that was the way you wanted to, well, the way we planned it. So now now we started somewhere else. And funny enough...
I'll be the big man. I lost this one.
No, I don't see it as winning or losing. Listen, if I can only reach one person, and that one person can only reach one person, and that one person can only reach one person, eventually we are growing. And it's not about me beating you or you beating me. It's about what can we do to change our society.
I have one question though.
Sure.
Who got to America first?
Sorry?
Who got to America first?
The Chinese. Well, obviously no, the Europeans, but that was in the Ice Age. But after the Ice Age, it were the Chinese. They didn't stay, however.
No, I just okay. Well, I don't want to bring up a whole new thing, but like I always heard that I have a friend who tells me that the Dutch were the first people to found America.
Maybe. I don't know enough about that. I mean, the Vikings were there before that. And
Eric the Red, yeah, no.
and okay, the Dutch were there in Manhattan, the English were there at Plymouth and Virginia, though the Dutch would go more towards other places as well, so it's difficult to say. I don't know. I think the British were the first settlers, to be honest. Well, not the British, but people from the British Isles. I'm not sure. I have to admit, I'm not sure, but I think that this is the case. But yeah, no, the Chinese were there before the Vikings. Listen, I'm a big fan of Viking history. It's one of my primary hobbies, and I love it when people say, "Well, the Vikings were the first to rediscover America," which is a lovely thing. And oh man, I would love to agree, but I have to admit, they were not the first. They were the first European since the Ice Bridge.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. American Indians have European ancestry. Just not the Europe we know now. I mean, they come from the same area, but they're not European. Because there's, what, 30,000 years in between that?
Well, I have no idea.
No, it's interesting because if we look at humanity as it is, there are a few major hominids. That is what are the humans now, and these major human hominids have all, how do you call it, come together. They all melted into Homo sapiens sapiens. So Homo sapiens, Homo merovingian, Homo denisovan, and I forgot the fourth one because I always do. They all became what we now know as Homo sapiens sapiens. I really hoped that I haven't seen them for a while.
You mean you mean white people, right?
Actually, no. I mean, no. The idea of white people and dark people has nothing to do with Well, it has to do with genetics, but not like that. It has more to do with where you're living than where your papa and mama comes from. Because if you're living, for example, in most of the northern countries, people have a white skin. Why? Because there's not a lot of sunlight. What's our main source of vitamin D? Well, fish and sunlight. Well, why is vitamin D important? Because it's absolutely necessary to get your immune system to work in a proper way. So what happens to you if you don't have enough vitamin D? Well, you get sick and die. So why is it that so many people with darker skin have so much health problems in Northern European and North American countries? Because they don't have enough vitamin D and their body isn't taking it out of the sunlight. Hence, they are weaker. They might be physically strong, but their immune system is weaker. It has nothing to do with racism. It's purely to do with biology. But if you, as a white person, start living in, let's say, around the equator, your skin will become darker. It has to be because, well, I mean, at one point your skin is used to make vitamin D, but at the same time, the source of vitamin D is also burning your skin. So the darker your skin is, the less you will burn.
So what do you think of the races exactly?
There is one race, Homo sapiens sapiens. The problem isn't ethnicity, the problem is culture.
Right. So plenty of us, unfortunately, think that there's white people and black people and Asian people.
Yeah, sure. It's easy to recognize people based on the skin color. It's still wrong though. The major thing that sets us the major thing that sets us apart is not our skin color, it's our culture.
Well, it's technically incorrect, but like if you think about it, race and culture do intersect.
Sorry, again. What? Race and culture do intersect?
Yeah.
Do you have proof of that? Because I can prove the opposite.
They do. I mean, if you think
I can prove the opposite. So, how do they? You say they do. How do they?
Okay. All right. So why don't we do let's do the fun one. Why is it that white people all over the globe, well, at least in Europe, have accomplished more than anything than anything that the Africans have done?
Culture.
Over. Why?
Because culture. The thing is, if we look at Europe, and it doesn't matter where you are in Europe, but let's take Germany as primary. And why do I take Germany as primary? Because the Germanic Europeans are nearly everywhere in Europe. Hell, I mean, Italy used to have its Latin people, and we still call them Latin, but Italy is basically Longobarden, which is a tribe of Germans. So,
but we're talking all of Africa, right? Just basically shitting itself in Africa, doing nothing, and then we've got Europe raising churches and buildings.
Yeah, it doesn't start with raising churches and buildings. It starts somewhere else. It starts a way lower. But you know where it starts?
So
No, seriously, do you know where it starts? If the answer is no, then just say no and I'll try to explain it. If you do, then... No. It's not about the location. Do you know where... how do you call it? Development? Yeah, I guess development is a wrong word, but I can't really find a better one. Do you know where progress starts?
That's a really vague question.
Actually, it's not.
Do I know where progress starts?
Yeah. What's the main driver of progress? And I'm not talking about social justice progress, but I'm talking about actual progress.
Well, my understanding of why Europe was awesome was because it was a giant crucible of fucking warfare for, I don't know.
No. It definitely had an influence, but that's not the why. The why is necessity. The why is necessity. Now, if we look at Europe, especially like places like Germany, tribalism was still going on for quite a long time. But unlike a lot of other places, the tribalism was located to areas. There wasn't a lot of nomadic tribalism in Germany. Why? Because the country didn't really allow for it. Okay, so then what? You need to do something. Then, for example, as Dimitri says in the chat, agriculture starts. Now, it didn't start in Germany. It started in Africa and in the Middle East. But it grew big in Europe. Why? Because of necessity. Now, why didn't this happen in Africa because nomadic life was very easy there. There was lots of food, there were lots of, how do you call it, animals, and the climate was forgiving. The chance of you dying because you die of frostbite in Africa are pretty slim, to say the least. In Europe, that was a genuine problem. You need to plan. You need to have a roof over your head that created safety. You needed to make sure that you plan for your food. These necessities created progress. This created societies. This is something that a lot of places in Africa didn't have because they didn't have the necessity. Therefore, tribes in Africa developed at a different pace, among other things. There are many other things as well, but this is probably, there's a nice anthropological discourse on it, and people don't like to say it. It's not that black people were lazy, they did not have the necessity. If we look at Europe, we had the necessity. And because we had limited land, but relatively a lot of people living here, there was a lot of infighting because we needed the resources. If we go for Africa, once again, the landmass was huge. Nomadic tribes could travel along the same patterns, crossing each other's paths, but never seeing each other. So the tribal conflict thing, and there was tribal conflict in Africa, don't you get me wrong. Oh man, it was terrible. Slavery started in Africa, but it wasn't as big as it was comparatively to Europe because there were, well, per square meter, less people. They could travel around not seeing each other for the longest time. And at the same time, in Europe, you had settlements. But nomadic tribes don't have settlements. So there is no land to defend. Again, necessity creates progress. Progress creates new necessities. It's a cycle. For example, in the old times, in Africa basically is the the birthplace of bridges. No, that doesn't make sense because bridges are rather an engineering feat. Are you sure that this started in Africa? Yes, we are sure this started in Africa. So why didn't all the other things start in Africa? Because there was no need. But for bridges, there was need. Because in the water were deadly animals. You wanted to make sure that you don't have to go into the water if you don't have to go. Progress is driven by necessity. And yes, slavery started with agriculture. This is also true. But it's not completely true because nomadic tribes already had slavery, but far less. I mean, they might have had 1 or 2 or 3 slaves to carry the shit. But once agriculture started, slavery increased a lot. You're right on that one, Dimitri. Oh, sorry.
So, well, what do you think of all of this? Oh God, how do I even answer the question? So white people, huh?
What about white people?
Is that even an accurate designation of us, or
No.
what do you?
Of course it's not. Who is white? Are Italians white? Are Arabs
No.
white?
Probably not.
Why not? They're also European. They're also Eurasian, sorry. As I said, most Italians are Longobarden. Longobarden was a tribe of Germanics. So, what is different between an Italian Germanic and a German Germanic? Well, the skin color is slightly different. Yes, it is. Why? Because Italy has more sunlight than Germany. What is the main cause of darkening of skin? The abundance of sunlight. Are Finnish people European? Well, their ancestry lies in Asia. We know this because why the hell not? We've done all the DNA testing. But they live in Finland. So are they European? Yeah, of course they are European now. But are they white if they are of Asian descent? Well, Asians are yellow. Yeah, but these guys are whiter than white. Why? Location.
Is Donald Trump white?
Is Donald Trump white?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is stupid. The orange thing has been proven so often. It's been it's been stupid editing by the media to change the skin color. And I'm not even saying that. This has been proven time and again. When they have a photo of Trump standing next to someone else, and if you have the photo in an American newspaper or in an Asian newspaper, in the Asian newspaper, there are just two guys standing there. In the American newspaper, Donald Trump is orange. I'm sorry.
Okay, so what do you think of all of the anti-white stuff going around
It's stupid.
these days?
It's identity politics. It's basically set up to destroy our society. And it will if we can't stop it. And if it does, people die. But this is not because of black people. This is because of Bolsheviks, because of communists, because of Antifa. And you know which cultures came up with that idea?
Germans?
Well, yeah, the French and the Germans.
So what you're telling me is that the Germans are black.
Try that again. What I'm saying is what?
Never mind, I'm just fucking with you.
No, that's okay. I have no problem calling you Katie Newman if you want to. I mean,
So what you're saying is
yeah, indeed.
that Germans are
But the problem is culture, not ethnicity. Let's be honest, if we look at someone like Thomas Sowell, Larry Elder, they're black.
So what would you say? What would you say to the Chinese who tie their race to their culture? What do you think about those people?
It's culture. It's not race, it's culture.
They don't see it that way.
Of course they don't, because they're indoctrinated not to see it that way. People who are indoctrinated, what was the saying again? It's easier to lie to someone than to convince them that they've been lied to.
Okay, so so you'll agree that the Bolsheviks.
Sorry, I have to respond to Lady Justice for a second. Lady, Marx was an idiot, but he wasn't that original, to be honest. So killing him probably wouldn't have done much. Do I agree to what?
Right. Okay. So you'll agree that the Bolsheviks and the Marxists and the communists, those are all bad people, but
Well, hashtag not all, but there is that.
right.
Most Bolsheviks are useful idiots, just like the Red Guard in Mao's China. They will get killed as soon as the government changes to whatever they want it to change to. This has been true in Russia, this has been true in Cambodia, this has been true in Vietnam, this has been true. I don't know where it hasn't been true, to be honest. The supporters of the revolution are the first to be killed by the revolution unless they are the leaders of the revolution. Because you don't want revolutionaries in your new society, because if your new society doesn't live up to what you claimed it would, the revolutionaries will turn against you.
Okay, so you so you disagree with all the Marxist shit.
I think
Right.
Marx was an idiot. But then again, Marx disagreed with Marx. So I won't say I disagree with everything with Marx said.
Okay, so let's say that all of the Bolsheviks and all these retards win and they start like grouping up on white people.
People will die. Simple
What
as
do you
that.
do, though?
Fight back.
Okay.
There's nothing else you can do. You have to fight back.
Right. Okay, so what if I told you that was already happening?
It's been happening for 40 years, 50 years. 50 years,
Okay.
1960. 70 years almost. Fucking hell, time flies.
Right, but so what is white people again?
It's a way to try and divide society.
And
I'm
Dutch?
yes.
Are you white?
Depends on who you ask.
Boy, oh.
If you ask me, I'm going to say, yeah, sure, why not? But my father is Italian. Are Italians white?
I don't know. Does everybody else think they're white? I mean,
I think most people don't even care about it. It's only been made an issue by people who want to put in groups versus out groups.
right.
It's all about who is the good mensch. Are you a good mensch? Well, if you're a good mensch, you have to be against racism. But you're white, so you can't be against racism. Oh, wait a second.
Okay, well, this is so much easier then. Are you a Jew?
No.
What if you were Jewish?
What about it?
Well, if you were Jewish, would you be a Jew?
Yes. If you were a circle, are you a circle?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, everyone thinks you're a Jew.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So be it.
Okay. Would you agree that Jewish people should probably figure out how to not get gassed? What do you think?
That question doesn't make sense. Can you rephrase that in a way that it does?
No, I think I put it out there right.
Would I agree to not get?
Would you agree that white people / you of your Jewish heritage not like to get gassed?
Would anyone like to get gassed?
Well, I don't know. Do you?
I don't know. Do you? I wouldn't. Would you? Would you like to get gassed?
Me? No.
So why is it based on whether I am Jew or not?
Skin color.
What's the skin color of a Jew?
Well, when people talk about white people, they're generally referring to us. So.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
I think it does mean something. But
so what does it mean then? Try to explain it to me, because I really don't understand. I mean, if some idiot calls you a jackass, are you a jackass?
Well, when people refer to white people as X, Y, and Z, or they reject them from job offerings like they are doing.
So you're talking about discrimination? Then the issue should be:
Well,
are we okay with discrimination?
well, no. I'm actually just asking. Like, do you agree? There's a grouping here, right? So white grouping, white people is a thing.
Yeah, okay, sure. You can group anything any way you want, so yeah.
Awesome. That's all I wanted.
That doesn't mean that this is a good thing.
Well, no, I don't think it's a good thing at all. But I'm just
So, I mean, am I defined by my group?
you are not defined by your group, but you are part of it. Does that make sense?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, so let me try differently then. Define the group white.
Okay. Generally speaking, Anglo people with white skin.
So you're talking about Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, well, I'm one.
Well, in that case, I'm not. In that case, I'm not white.
You look pretty white to me.
But I'm not Anglo-Saxon. So either that definition is wrong, or your eyes are wrong. So what's the definition of white?
No, wait, I already saw your beard, though.
I have a nice beard, that is true. I have a great beard, yeah. Definitely proud of that.
I don't understand the point of this. What are we doing?
No, I mean, you're wanting to define people by arbitrary measurements. Fair enough. Define white. Aren't the Khazar European, though, Dimitri?
So if I send you like 6 million articles into your server talking about white people, what are you gonna do?
Nothing.
Okay.
But I'm asking you, define white. No one has been able to so far, so I'm not expecting you. But if you can't define something, how can I answer on it?
That's not. It's not that it's not that it's not that I can define it. It's just that other people are defining it for us.
So, if a jackass calls me an idiot, should I care? Am I an idiot?
Well, when they're gonna deny you a job offer,
Which is discrimination, which is a different problem. Discrimination is illegal, right?
Ask the BBC.
And the BBC broke the law, definitely. I'm amazed that no one picked up on that. But yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that if we'd asked John, he has a lot to say about that as well. But then again, the BBC is losing, how do you call it? People in the UK are less and less inclined to trust the BBC.
anyway, you should probably end the stream. We're talking bullshit now. So
No, actually, I'm still answering all of your questions. You're the ones that have a problem with defining what you're saying.
no,
I understand you when you say, well, yeah, but people say white people are bad. Yeah, fair enough. But make them define white. Well, no one does that. Why not? Well, because everyone knows they can't. Hell, we have, what's her name? I think it was Presley having a problem in Congress because she didn't want to identify as white because she is Arab background. But in the 60s, Arabs were fighting to be defined as white in America. So what is white?
you know when you see it, basically.
No, you don't. That's the thing. It's such an arbitrary thing that it can be redefined whenever they want to, and this is what postmodernism does. This is what the Bolshevik does. This is what cultural Marxists do. It's going to go everywhere whenever they need it. And once it's proven wrong, they'll go somewhere else pretending it was never disproven.
Right. Watch this. John is white. You're white. I'm white.
Based on what?
Who else is white?
You said Anglo-Saxon. John is Anglo-Saxon. Yeah, sure. You are. You said you are. Fair. I'm not. Therefore, I can't be white. Because I'm not Anglo-Saxon.
Let's go through the white list. All right.
Are Slavic people white?
Ludicrous leprechaun.
Are Slavic people white?
White. Yeah.
Slavic people are white.
Yeah. Because
Okay, so slavery was a problem. Slavery was a problem mostly affecting white people.
Right, but only because they're only white because they would be identified as white.
So slavery was mostly a white people's problem. Because we call people slaves because Slavic people were slaves. Hell, the whole culture was called Slavic because they were slaves.
Well,
so when black people start complaining to me how white people are the problem because of slavery, I can say, no, wait a second. The very word slave is because white people were slaves. And I'd be correct.
I don't really think that's going to work out that way.
Why not?
But okay.
I mean, factually, if Slavic people are white, then I'm factually correct. The word slave is derived from Slavic.
Right.
And Slavic people were the preferred slaves of the Romans. And at that time, the Romans weren't Germanic, they were actual Romans.
Right, you can rule lawyer that all you want.
Oh, so it's not about reality, it's about perception.
Well, yeah. Well, it will be. For sure, yeah.
So we're not talking about reality, we're talking about whatever we can make stick.
Well,
if we're going to talk about whatever we can make stick, it doesn't matter what we call it. Because it's not based on reality.
Well, no, that's what people are going to see. And that matters because that's what people react on. So it's the same way, like if you were, again, hello, my Hebrew friend. If the if the nose doth stick too far out, you will be noted as the Jew.
Yeah, sure. Does that make sense?
I'm not saying it makes sense.
I'm asking. I'm not saying you're saying it. I'm asking.
Well,
so no, it doesn't make sense. So should we design our society and our culture to do this? No, we should not. Then why are we doing it? Because identity politics. Who is driving identity politics? The ones that are trying to start people to fight each other. I think the term was divide and conquer. Was it not? And now the World Economic Forum, since the outbreak of COVID, is talking about how the Great Reset is such a good thing. For whom?
Modwayne.
Yes.
What is your position then?
On what?
What do you want to do? Do you want to just like sit around and like hope for everything to like fucking go well, or like what?
No, I try to help people make the right decisions for themselves. I can't change the world. I would like to. But who am I to think that I would be better than whatever other benevolent dictator we've seen? I mean, there is a problem with, how do you call it? The moral do-gooder. Would I be any different? I'd like to think I'd be different, but I probably won't.
Well, sorry, did you say moral do-gooder?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
I think it's
I
a
can't-
C.S. Lewis quote.
Sometimes I can't do the fucking Dutch accent sometimes. Sorry, bud.
I have a Dutch accent. Okay, that's the first time I heard that one. Usually,
Whatever your accent is.
usually they give me a different. But no, I think it's a quote from C.S. Lewis. It's better to live under a robber baron than under an omnipotent tyrant who's doing it for the greater good. Because robber barons might sleep and might get satiated, but people who do it for the greater good are doing it without feeling the tang of their conscience. I think the best government is a government that only protects and nothing else. It shouldn't involve itself in economics. It shouldn't involve itself in most of what we're doing.
So if we boog out and like go fucking crazy and kill Nancy Pelosi, are you gonna get mad?
Am I going to get what?
Mad?
Mad? No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want you to kill her. Obviously, I don't want anyone to get killed. But at the same time, and this is something I've been talking for years now, I fear the moment when people will start standing up and fighting for their freedom. Not because I don't think they should, but because it will end in bloodshed, and I'd rather it didn't. But yeah, it's not about what I would rather have happen. It's what needs to be done.
Okay, well, we're probably gonna boog out. So
I don't know. We'll see what happens in America. But let's be honest, America isn't the first. People seem to forget, but the Yellow Vests have been going on for 2 years in France easily. We're getting into the third.
Yeah, France.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Well, yeah, it is France. But there were other Yellow Vest actives in Europe as well. In all fairness, the whole COVID bullshit came really good for a bunch of political movements, because Pegida, we haven't heard much about Pegida. AfD, we haven't heard much about them. FVD in the Netherlands, they've been pretty quiet because they couldn't organize because of COVID. This is true for just about every country in Europe. Every political movement has been put on lockdown for the time being because of a disease with a death rate that doesn't even come close to diarrhea.
Right.
It's true.
So,
I'm not saying anything that isn't true. There haven't been more deaths from COVID than yearly die from diarrhea.
I'm not right. I'm modeling. I'm just saying. The U.S. is markedly different from France. The Yellow Vest shit does not even compute. I don't even think most Americans probably don't even know about that shit.
No, of course not, because the media won't tell you. Funny how that goes.
We don't really care about French
No.
shit,
You would care about it if the media told you. But you've not been told, so you don't care.
Well, I'm just saying I haven't been talking to anybody, but most of these guys are like fucking ready to boog out.
Yeah, I can understand that. And in all fairness, America does have a history of violence, which is unfair because it's not an earned history of violence. I mean, yeah, sure, you had the Civil War. What, 200 years ago now? Come on. Shit.
It's more like a 1776 kind of like fucking shit because...
Yeah, that's what I said, 200 years ago.
Well, the Democrats want to eliminate the Electoral College.
And they want to imprison Republican representatives, because, and this is the main thing, your politicians aren't your leaders, they're your representative. There's a difference. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the big is probably coming. So
Yeah, I hope not, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised. And
yeah,
who knows what will happen in Europe, because Europe is also a mess.
yeah. Sorry about that, by the way.
Why are you sorry about that?
Well, I was sorry. Well, I'm sorry for two reasons.
Not your fault, is it? What did you do?
Well, no, I didn't do shit. I'm sorry because Biden is gonna probably retain the presidency after all of this nonsense is over, and well, assuming he doesn't get shot, but you know, what was it? The Brits were, they had that whole Brexit thing going on, and now they're gonna get fucked by the U.S. because Biden is not gonna help them out.
Yeah, well, in all fairness, the Brits will be fine. It's amazing how people will fearmonger, but trust you me, there are countries in the world that aren't Europe and that aren't America, and they're still willing to trade.
Well, sell them a lot of soybeans, I guess. I don't know.
I think beef came from Argentina. John, am I right on this one? But yeah, we don't know how it'll end up. But the thing is,
well,
the more stupid Europe is acting towards the UK, the more civilians in Europe are recognizing that they don't want to be part of Europe either. Hungary and Poland are already on that step, but they won't leave the European Union because they get a lot of money from it.
Well, what about you? Do you want to leave?
Yeah. The European project has failed. Now, I'm more than willing to have a cooperative European Union, but the European Union as is has failed. There's a reason a lot of people don't call us Europe anymore, but they will say things like, what was it, the EUCCP. No, the EUSSR. European Union of Socialistic States. Which is true. We are the new Russia. And that's not something to be proud of. No, I shouldn't say the new Russia. We're the new Soviet Union.
Kyle Comrade? I don't know. What are they called? What's the SSR thing?
United States. Sorry, USSR. United Soviet Socialistic Republic. USSR. Yeah. United Soviet Socialistic Republic. United Socialist Soviet Republic. So Soviet and Socialist could be intertwined. But Soviet Socialist Republic or United Socialist Soviet Republics.
Well, Comrade Commissar,
I'm not a commissar. You know, if I were a commissar, I probably wouldn't mind so much.
duly enjoyed this stream.
Yeah, it was fun.
Sorry, I'm not a big fucking debater.
And you were so sure you would.
Well, I'll get better at it.
And we can do it again.
Good fun. I will beat you at Liberty, bitch.
You'd beat me at Liberty. No, you won't. And you know why? You're the one advocating for government interference. Oh, where you go now, mate? Yes, you were. Oh, you'd rather have the Republican government interference than the Democrat government interference, but you're still advocating for government interference.
That had to do with it.
Yeah, come on.
What?
Try to talk your way out of it.
The most important thing is that you're a faggot. So.
Well, yeah, I can live with that. But no, I mean, and I don't even want to be nasty or anything, but this is how much we're indoctrinated. This is how much we're made to believe that these things work. And it's unfortunate. But even you, while still thinking certain things should be better, are still thinking within the framework you've been given. And you've been given this framework to stop you from thinking outside of it. And you have a hard time thinking outside of the framework. But you also have a hard time recognizing that this is the case. And I'm not blaming you because it's not your fault. That's the problem with indoctrination. That's the problem with it's very hard to break it, especially if you don't know that you are being indoctrinated. I mean, any government interference in the housing situation will make the housing situation worse. Yeah, but my government might have a better idea because I like this one. Yeah, but it's still interference, so it's still bad.
Basically, both want the same thing to happen. It's just basically cheaper prices for hay.
No. This is the worst part. Governments aren't in it for you. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah, but you want cheaper housing.
I don't want cheaper housing. I want housing. The cheaper part will come automatically. That's the whole thing. If you have 100 houses and you have 10,000 people that need a house, those houses are going to go fucking expensive. If you have 100,000 houses and only 1,000 people that need a house, well, that price is going to be low. Because if I really want to sell it, for example, you're willing to pay 20 cents for a pear. What if I have 100,000 pears? Are you still willing to pay 20 cents for it? No, because then you'll say like, oh, you have so many, just give me one. No, I can't give it. Okay, well, you know what? Here's 1 cent. I'm not going to pay 20 cents. You're going to throw the bloody thing away anyway. 1 second. What is it? Yeah. Dobranoc. My wife is going to bed. I'm sorry. But the whole thing falls with supply and demand. If supply is higher than demand, the price drops. If supply is lower than demand, the price rises. Let the market take care of it. We haven't lived in a market economy for way more than 100 years. Way more. We don't have capitalism. We pretend to have capitalism. We don't have capitalism. Why? Because government interference. Now, are there some things governments should do? Yeah, sure. Protect our safeties. That's what governments should do. Period. I'm sorry, John, she can't hear it or see it. She already left. She's going to bed. But I'll let her know you said hi. But do you understand what I say, Gaspar?
Yeah.
And it's not me saying, oh, look at how stupid you are, because it's not. Hell, 20 years ago I was in your position. I sometimes still talk to other people, for example, like Toxic, like John. We don't always agree with each other. Of course we don't always agree with each other. But every once in a while we say something I say something, he says something, Toxic said something that will make me rethink my position. And that's where the whole polarization in our society comes from. You're not allowed to hear ideas that go against the doctrine, let alone think about them. So what happens to people who say something else on the interweb? They get banned. Hell, it started with Alex Jones. Now, I'm not a fan of Alex Jones. I think he's a buffoon. But hey, he had the right to say what he had to say. And he's been proven right on quite a few things, unfortunately. And where does it end? It ends with the President of the United States.
Alex has been right about fucking everything.
Well, I wouldn't say about everything, but he had made a fair few points. I have to agree. And Dimitri, supply and demand isn't for money. Money is just a way to visualize the concept. I mean, money is only worth something because we can do something with it. As soon as we stop being able to do something with money, money loses all value. Bread has more value than money. But yeah, no, I mean, you can agree with, oh no, I forgot his name. Bloody hell. InfoWars or not. That's not the point. The point is, he said things that people didn't like, therefore they pushed him off the network. And they could do it with him, they could do it to all of us, and now they've even done it to the President of the United States. It's all about you are not allowed to hear ideas that may make you question the doctrine. The only reason I'm allowed to do this is because I'm bloody small. I'm not sure how good people like me would be on YouTube if we were big. And I was bigger. I mean, YouTube pretty much throttled me, which is okay.
No, that's goddamn true. You're lucky, buddy.
Well, I mean, I had a nice chat with someone in my videos who recognized that. I forgot his name. I have to look it up. Who recognized that people got Punkster. Punkster said, "I know because he started a new account, and depending on which account he was on, he couldn't see certain comments on certain videos."
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky, but they've been purging hard, and Twitter is going down harder than that. So you're lucky.
Yeah, I'm still small, but then again, I mean, we are very careful here to not say words like fuck or bullshit or nigger because we never say words like that, right?
My bad, dude.
Listen, if YouTube kicks me, I'm gone from YouTube. That's okay. I don't care. But that's the point. Yeah. These companies, the social media, but the newspapers and all of it, you're only allowed to hear a certain narrative. And when you only hear a certain narrative, you start believing that that's all there is.
Well, Heil, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer. By the way, the Democrats have control of the Senate now, so
they're criminals. Every single one of them.
So Heil, the Democrats, should be a good boy.
I don't understand. I don't understand how people have been complaining about Trump. Oh, well, we need to check his taxes because he's probably going to abuse the fact that he's president. And I'm like, I don't want to be rude. The dude was a billionaire and lost money whilst being a president. I'd rather have the taxes checked of all those Congress people that become multimillionaires whilst serving the public. I mean, seriously, how rich is Obama? How much does a president make? How do these two compare?
Yeah, I've got no gripes about how Trump led his presidency, but I will tell you,
he could have done a better job. He did good,
It
but he
re-
could have done a better job.
Well, he disavowed the protest. I don't like that. So
He had to. I totally understand why he had to.
I know
You have
why
to
he
disavow violence.
did. Yes.
Yeah, there you have it.
Anyway.
I find it more interesting that a year ago, when BLM was at the Congress, nobody cared. And when the Kavanaugh thing happened and people were protesting in Congress, nobody cared. And now it's a huge problem. I don't know.
Well, it's because he's leaving office. That's why.
Yeah, but they are calling them terrorists. How are BLM not terrorists when they did the same to Congress? Or the ones that opposed Kavanaugh?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I have no answer for you, buddy.
And that's the thing with hypocrisy. If not for double standards, they wouldn't have had any at all. So you don't choose between the lesser of two evils, because they're both evil.
Well, unfortunately, I hate plenty of whiskey, so.
But I did enjoy our talk. I'm sorry that I trounced you so very. I hope it doesn't hurt too much.
Well, my testicles are a little achy, but I think I'll get over
they'll
it.
drop in. Don't worry.
Modwang, you're the only person. You're the only person You're the only person that I would actually be polite to in this situation.
Well, thank you.
The only person.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not, but thank you.
Yeah.
I'd rather people be honest. You don't have to be polite.
No, I'm not. No, I like you, Modwang. You're badass.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I do. And I like talks like this, whether we agree or not. Hell, John and I often don't agree. I still want him to come on this stream.
Well,
because the last thing we should have is an echo chamber.
Well, no, I actually enjoy sounding like a retard most of the time because...
Oh, so that's why you're so good at it. I'm sorry, mate, but you had that one. Open doors. Open doors. What do you do with open doors?
All right. Hey.
But yeah, it was a good stream.
I enjoyed it.
It was a good stream. But no, seriously, look into the things I said when it comes to supply and demand on housing and whatnot.
I'll re-listen to this.
No, I mean, don't listen and believe. I mean, I might think I'm correct, and I probably think I am, obviously. But look into this, and you'll be amazed. Once you start looking into things, you come across things that you never heard. Even, for example, I'm a sociotherapist. Psychology is my job. It's amazing between what we are being taught in school and what the actual research has shown. But if you don't look further, you won't know. And this is true for psychology. This is true for economics. I can't find a subject where this isn't true. We're being told a lie. And the lie doesn't seem big, but the only reason why it doesn't seem big is because we believe it. But once we start looking further, you come across things that say, well, wait a second. That's not true. And the more you do that, the more you realize we're being played. And the more you realize that you don't choose for the lesser of two evils. Because once you choose for the lesser of two evils, you commit yourself to an evil. And you won't stand down from your commitment that fast. It's not a bad thing. This is how humans are, which is a good thing. Once we commit to something, we really need convincing to let go of it. And that's the problem.
It's a good place to end the stream.
As you wish. Anyway, Gaspar, thank you for joining me. And I would like to thank everyone in the chat for enduring it so long. I hope you enjoyed it. John, I would like to ask you if you could join me in Discord in a moment, because I did want to ask you a few questions. Obviously, we haven't spoken for a while, and yes, but that's not it. It's about something else.